Hey now, 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday, and it is Big 12 Football Media Days, day number 1. We've got coverage live from the Star in Frisco, Texas with our Dan Lucero throughout the day. I'm Brendan Dworzinski, rocking with you, anchoring things from our Huntoon Hill studios. We've got a jam-packed show for you today. Dan has been busting his buns down there in North Texas, running down Kansas State Wildcats, coaches, players, etc. We've got all sorts of great interviews coming up over the course of the show today. It's K-State Day. As we told you on yesterday's show, usually, as you know, it's Jayhawk Weekly on Tuesdays, Wildcat Wrap-up on Wednesdays. We correspond KU and K-State coverage those days. Well, the Big 12 does not give a rip about our schedule here on 580 Sports Talk. So it's all K-State wall-to-wall today, plus some more fun as well. KU coverage tomorrow when the Jayhawks are going through the media car wash down there at the Star. And then throughout the rest of this week and into next week, we've got all sorts of really fun stuff. Other people from around the Big 12, some college football media personalities who are down there in North Texas as well that Dan's been running down chatting with. Some more KU and K-State players. So much great stuff from Media Days coming up over the next few days here on 580 Sports Talk. And let's say hello to Dan Lucero, who is joining us via the wonders of 21st century technology from a very bright spot at the Star. There is a spotlight from another regional radio station, I believe, right behind you, shining over one of your shoulders. But we can see you on the YouTube feed, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. You guys listening on radio can hear Dan as well. What's going on, buddy?
Been an active radio row. You see a station from Salt Lake City is directly behind me. The website DNVR is here. They're getting set up for all their CU Buffs coverage tomorrow. Lots of stations, lots of Big 12 markets being represented today. The mascots have all been through, players, coaches, obviously. Been a very busy day, and again, lots of great content we're looking forward to bringing you today, tomorrow, and for a while, because there's a lot of stuff we've got on tape here today from Frisco for Big 12 Media Day.
Yeah, we'll preview the whole show here in just a second, but I wanted to get to kind of our interview plan for the day, as it is K-State Day, among others. 8 of the 16 Big 12 teams, their media contingents that made the trip down, going through the car wash today. So we are going to hear from Coach Chris Klieman. We know we're going to hear from Coach here in a little bit. We know we're going to hear from the Topeka native Des Purnell coming up a little bit later. Tim Fitzgerald is there. The Go PowerCat crew in attendance. He brought like 18 people with him. They are down there at the Star today at the Ford Center. So we're going to hear from Fitz for a live Wildcat wrap-up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And just to kind of illustrate the craziness, the chaos of Media Days, at some point we are going to hear from Avery Johnson. It might be literally 60 seconds from now. It might be half an hour from now. It might be to lead off the 4 o'clock hour. At some point, though, we are going to hear from QB1.
Yes, he is a man in demand. I think of the players here, only Sam Levitt from Arizona State today is in higher demand than Avery Johnson. And that might not even be true, honestly. Avery might be, because there's a bit more of a Kansas media contingent here than there is a Arizona media contingent. So, yeah, he's a man in demand. He's a popular guy. He's strutting around in a lavender suit, and yeah, he's gonna speak to us at some point. Ryan Lackey, the superlative SID there at Kansas State, is going to bring Avery on over, and when he does, he's going to sit down next to me and pretend to like me, and we're gonna talk some shop. But everything else is in the can. We've talked to today, as you mentioned, Chris Klieman, the head coach, was pleased to talk with him. Also, Des Purnell. It is Des this year officially. It's not Desmond anymore. It's going to be Des Purnell. That is what he has gone by informally. Now he wants it formalized. That the former Hayden Wildcat will go by Des Purnell this year, and spoke with him earlier today. Also spoke with the former McPherson Bullpup, Cody Stufflebean. Had a good conversation with VJ Payne as well. And we'll get to all of that later on in the week. But today we wanted to spotlight the coach, the Topeka kid and QB1. And we're still waiting on Avery Johnson, but do anticipate him joining us at some point during today's program. We will speak with Avery.
Well, I can't wait for you to ask Avery about playing on a Saturday morning at Hummer Sports Park in September of 2022. His first pass of the game touchdown to Bryce Cahoon. See if he remembers that one from his final year at Mays High. So we've got all sorts of K-State interviews coming up today and throughout the rest of the week. We'll get to those over the course of the show today. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of the overall vibe from Big 12 Media Day, some of the big things from Brett Yormark and some of the other coaches. Dan, along with his interviews, has also heard all the head coaches up for their big press conferences today. So we'll get some final thoughts on that, including I know you and I both, Dan, have some pretty strong thoughts on Scott Frost. We'll get to him at some point over the course of the day. Isn't it crazy that you can be a middle-aged man and live your entire life? You can be a middle-aged man and never done a single thing wrong in your entire life. I think that's incredible, to be honest with you. Really remarkable thing. So we'll get to Scott Frost a little bit later on in the show today. Some interesting stuff from Kalani Sitake as well for BYU, getting a little bit weird in their quarterback room. We've got our usual staples. We've got What Is Wrong With You coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, and I think we need to revisit yesterday's game. We had a tie for one of the first times ever. I think we do need to revisit that before today's stories. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines in the 5 o'clock hour. We also have 2 opportunities today to win tickets to see Whiskey Myers at Starlight Theater coming up on Saturday. The phone lines, guys, were blowing up yesterday with interest about it. We only had 1 pair to give away yesterday. We've got 2. That's right, 2 pairs to give away today. End of this hour, end of next hour as well. So be listening for your chance to win tickets to see Whiskey Myers at the Starlight Theater, the single best concert venue that I've ever been to, period, but certainly in the Kansas City metro area. Your texts are welcome, 785-272-9429, and you can also join us on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Just head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, subscribe to the channel while you're there. You can watch along with the video version of the show. Dan's joining us on video. It's not just the audio from him. The internet, amazingly, for the first time ever at Big 12 Media Day, is good enough that we have video capabilities. It's been bad sometimes where we haven't even had audio capabilities. So we are very, very excited about that. All right, Dan, enough exposition here. Big 12 Media Day, it's the unofficial kickoff to the college football season. And I like that the Big 12 does its media days first, because then, as people who cover this conference and teams in this conference, we can just jump right on into the start of the season and don't have to pay a lot of attention to ACC, SEC, Big Ten when they come in later weeks. But this is an opportunity for Brett Yormark and for these 16 programs to be the story in college sports. And they can come out and make bold claims like Brett Yormark did today about the college football playoff and this conference and about individual teams and be the story around college football and around college sports. And let's just start with the commissioner, because he came out swinging today in a couple of different areas.
Yeah, it's when you've got a commissioner like Brett Yormark, you want to be able to make the opening statement, and that's effectively what the Big 12 gets when it comes to what we affectionately refer to as talking season. Big 12 gets first ups. These are the first media days of any of the Power Four conferences. So Brett Yormark gets to make the opening statement, and obviously the shape of the 16-team college football playoff is a big talking point and has to be decided by December 1st of this year. And the Big 12 is stern in its belief that it should be a 5+11 model. And what that effectively means is 5 automatic bids for the Power Four, one for each Power Four conference champion and 1 for the highest ranked Group of 5 champion, or Group of 6 now, I suppose, with the return of the Pac-12. And then 11 at-large bids, effectively, rather than the model that the SEC and the Big Ten are proposing, where those leagues get a set amount of bids every year. And that might guarantee the ACC and the Big 12 2 bids at once. 4-4-2-2-1, I believe, is where they're going with that. But and then very few, not much room, not as much room for at-larges, but Brett Yormark is firm in his belief that the 5+11 model is the best one for his league. And he even acknowledges that in the short term, that may not be the best play, because in the short term, that may mean that his league only gets 1 bid, which was the case last year. But he believes in the long term success of the Big 12. He believes in the long-term growth of the Big 12 as a football league and doesn't believe in putting a cap on how many teams that the Big 12 could get in a playoff, while the SEC and the Big 10 would get an automatic 4 every year. His line was I think, very compelling. We are not the NFL. We should not act like the NFL. This is college football, and we should not detract from the things that make college football special. And I'm in Yormark's corner on this one 100%. I think he's fighting a good fight as far as that goes. And I think he's absolutely correct that the 5+11 model is the way to go for a 16-team playoff.
Yeah, I think it's by far there's no fairness anywhere. College football's never been fair, truthfully, but I think that is the fairest, in theory, way to do it, as opposed to just like openly admitting, yes, 2 leagues are more important than others. I do believe the 5+11 way is the best way to do it. The one thing that Yormark talked about today, and I know that this came up on the show when it was pertinent a couple weeks ago, Dan, the lack of a poll, the lack of a preseason poll. So you and myself and Spencer and all the folks who are there in Frisco today, usually when you apply for a credential to go to Big 12 Football Media Day, or you're just well known enough by the conference, you are invited and sent a form to vote for 1 through 16, or formerly 12, or formerly 10, how you are going to rank the teams in the preseason poll. Last year, Arizona State comes in last, and then they end up winning the conference. And there's been a lot of chatter by the league and by people who cover the league in recent weeks that hurt Arizona State when it came to playoff seeding last year. BYU, similar thing. They were picked near the bottom of the league. They ended up having a fantastic season. Obviously, that was just kind of the banter by people like us over the last few weeks. Well, Yormark today confirmed it and said, yeah, look, we think that was bad for perception last year, so we're just not going to do that this year. I have a very curmudgeonly take about that, and probably comes off as defeatist. Like, if you are in the camp that you have really bought in almost to an emotional level of like the moving chess pieces of realignment and the dollars and cents of conference wars and all of that, I probably come off like a jerk saying this, and I admit that openly. But like, the Big 12 is already playing second fiddle to those leagues. Like, the Big 12 is already in third place. Third place is its own mountain, because that's better than the ACC. That's better than what the Pac-12 was and certainly is now. And the rest of the G5, that's a big deal. That's good. That's important. But like, clearly a second-class citizen compared to those other conferences. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think, okay, there's no poll last year, and Arizona State, let's play this out. And I know I'm stretching this a little bit, but I think based on the conversation around college football in recent years, it does make some amount of sense. Okay, let's assume there's no poll last year, right? So we don't ever have Arizona State picked to finish last. One, you lose a giant chunk of their narrative that no one expected us to be good. Look how good we are. Look at all this progress we've made. Look at these quality wins we have over teams that were ranked above us. You lose the narrative part of it. And secondly, these other people, the committees, the pundits around the sport, they're going to come up with a reason to knock them anyway, because that has been happening for over a decade at this point. So I don't think that is nearly as important as the commissioner is making it out to be. And I'm a big Brett Yormark fan, but I personally think that the league has kind of missed the mark on that thought.
No, I agree with you 100%, not just because I don't get to do that little extra bit of paperwork before the media days get underway. No, I think that the to act like that is the only thing that creates perception of a league. Like, there aren't other preseason polls that are out there. Like, you don't have the projections from Athlon or Phil Steele. Like, you don't have a preseason top 25 that comes out. Like, Arizona State's own perception wasn't hurt by the fact that they didn't exactly come stampeding out of the gate. They were fortunate to beat Mississippi State. They were fortunate to get to about October as a contender in the league before they really started kind of rampaging over teams. You go back and you look at their schedule last year. They lost to Texas Tech early. They barely beat Texas State. They beat Texas State by 3 on the road. They beat Mississippi State, who was a lousy SEC team, by only 7. The perception of Arizona State as not that compelling was kind of created on the field before they got red hot down the stretch and didn't lose after an early loss to Cincinnati. They lost Cincinnati on the road. Remember that? I think that maybe that had more to do with their perception than what the media thought back in July. So I do. I think I understand Brett Yormark is always going to fight, and he is a fighter, and he is what this conference needs, a fighter in the commissioner's office, 100%.
Absolutely.
But I think this is the wrong angle from which to fight the battle, because you can only control your perception based on what happens on the field. And I think you make an interesting point, too, about how part of Arizona State's story was that they were picked to finish last, ended up winning the league. That's what made them, I think, more interesting on a national scale than they otherwise would have been if they'd been picked like 8th or 9th. Nobody was picking them higher than that. I mean, they had been miserable the year before in the Pac-12. So, yeah, I do. I think that Brett Yormark is a little misguided in this, but at the same time, I think it comes from a good place because it's all about fighting for the perception of the league and fighting for the teams in the league and that place at the table come December in the college football playoff. And I'm never going to say Brett Yormark is wrong for doing that. I just think he's wrong that this is part of the fight.
No, I actually agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that's a very eloquent way to put it. And again, I like the approach that Brett Yormark takes when it comes to rallying the troops and gathering support and pushing the presentation and the acceptance of the Big 12 as it is right now, the positioning of it relative to the other conferences. I think he does a great job in all of those regards. This is, and sometimes, look, it works out. I don't have to agree with every single idea he has to feel that way. Another example of that, he today again was talking about him wanting it to be a global league. And we know about Big 12 Mexico, which is still going to be a thing, even if it's a little diminished from the original idea. I still think that's a bad idea. I just don't think that is worth the investment that it's going to take to get that off the ground. But I still appreciate the fact that he is pushing the boundaries. He's pushing the envelope to try to say, all right, we don't have the Disney-backed PR that the SEC has. We cannot compete with something like that. So you know what we're going to do? We're just going to do cool stuff all the time. And sometimes it's not going to work out. Sometimes it's going to be Crystal Pepsi. And wow, this sounds really cool. Actually, no, it's not. It tastes crappy. Like sometimes it turns into that. But at least you're trying something new. And I do appreciate that from Brett Yormark. Was there anything else that the commissioner said today, Dan, that really piqued your interest?
You spoke to the idea of being a global brand and being a global conference and winning globally. I think there are limits to that because I think there are limits to just how interested the rest of the world is in American interscholastic collegiate athletics. I just don't know how big you can grow that particular thing, as it is not really a thing in other countries. I don't know if people realize that, but it's about ambition. It's about being ambitious and forward-thinking and trying to do what nobody else is doing. That's where the Big 12 needs to be on the cutting edge. If there is to be a global leader in college sports, why not the Big 12? Why not? Why not why not have the first mover advantage if indeed there is an advantage to be found there? So, that certainly stood out to me as well. But it was a typical Brett Yormark press conference. It was advocating for the league very strongly and advocating for the teams and advocating for a seat at the table and respect for the Big 12 conference.
Yeah, there is actually something to be said for that. I should give credit where it's due there. That I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's going to quote unquote work. But if no one else is doing it, that is an untapped market to a degree. And look, you're talking about Mexico or Canada or a country nearby to us that is going to have more students who are coming to U.S. universities. Maybe, theoretically anyway, maybe that does make some sense. I can tell you, though, I spent a semester at a school in Europe, and when I told them that, yes, in American colleges, they pay you, they give you a full scholarship to just come and play a sport, they looked at me like I said, did you know you can actually have good-looking food at a sports stadium? Like they couldn't believe that was something that was even possible. It doesn't have to just be, footy scran. A couple other quick hitters from the first day at Big 12 Media Days. What did you make of Kalani Sitake's comments on Jake Retzlaff? We've been over this a couple of times on the show. quarterbacked BYU to that great season a year ago. Then he gets accused of sexual assault this offseason. He countered it and said, hey, her description of the events is not what happened. However, I did engage in a consensual physical relationship. Well, that's a violation of the BYU honor code. The case isn't that's out the window now. That's been dropped, but he's facing a 7-game suspension for BYU. It's been reported for over a week now. He's going to transfer. However, he's still listed on the BYU roster. Kalani Sitake today said, hey, I'm not going to comment on it. I love Jake Retzlaff. I'm just preparing the guys that I know are going to be here. That's weird, right? Like, and I don't blame Kalani Sitake for saying I can't comment on him because I get it. I understand that. But if he's still listed on the roster, he apparently has not fully entered the portal yet. Like, that's kind of an increasingly weird situation in Provo.
Well, I let's say this. Uncertainty regarding your quarterback situation on July 8th is most definitely, in any case, not what you want.
Nope.
And that is what BYU finds itself facing. They've got 3 backups with varying levels of experience behind him. So I don't necessarily think they'd be in a hopeless spot without Jake Retzlaff, but they'd certainly like a little clarity on that. And look, I think that it's probably difficult to go portaling on July 8th. You're probably just at that point saying, I'm probably not going to play any football in 2025. And maybe Retzlaff has had a second thought or a change of heart and thought that, maybe I just swallow the suspension. And if I only get 5 regular season games to play, then I only get 5 regular season games to play, because the report is it's a 7-game suspension for the violation of the honor code there at BYU. And I'm just going to make those 5 games count. Maybe he's had a change of heart. It's really difficult to say. But yeah, I mean, the reporting was rock solid that he was going to transfer and not be there. And that was the assumption. I think everybody walked into the Ford Center today holding was that he was not going to play at BYU. So for Kalani Sitake to say, yeah, well, I don't know, and kind of hem and haw a little bit, that was surprising. I would say still that it's more likely than not he's not suiting up for BYU this coming season. But yeah, a little bit more of a question mark surrounding that situation now.
One other note that I wanted to get to today, and Dan, if you have any others, please bring them up. I don't know if you saw this, but I believe someone lost their job today. I know this because I have friends who were collegiate mascots before. The number one rule of being a college mascot is you never let anyone see you without your head on. You never let anyone, Big J can't take off the big bird head. Willie can't take off literally the only part of his costume, the big head, and have someone see what's underneath there. Well, Pistol Pete from Oklahoma State was photographed with his big orange head off, texting on his phone inside the Ford Center. I think someone lost their job today.
I did not see that, but yeah, that's poor judgment from Pistol Pete. I guess that's kind of mistake you make in the summer months, right? You fine tune it, you get ready for the fall. But no, I did not see that. I'm always one of my favorite parts of the Big 12 Media Days is the mascots running around and goofing around. I saw Big J and Avery Johnson get into it a little bit, not really, kind of joking. By the way, for the record, Big J this year is huge. Big J looks like he should be rushing the passer coming off the edge for Lance Leipold's Jayhawks. Big J is big.
Hey, look, with DJ Warner transferring this year, KU needs a little depth, so I'm all right with that.
So I mentioned, he came by my table and said, gee, Big J, you've been working out, and he tried to steal my Snickers bar. Wasn't very discreet about it, but he did try. So shout out to Big J. Shout out to Wilbur. Had a nice interaction with Wilbur, the Arizona mascot. Wilbur, like me, is here on a business trip and left his wife behind. There is a male and female pairing of mascots for Arizona, but I only saw Wilbur today. That's always a fun part of this, is to see the mascots, see the cheerleaders, see the players, and everybody interacting. It's a little bit of a first day of school sort of vibe to this, and that makes it really entertaining. If there's one thing I do want to bring up before we take our first break here, today's presenting sponsor of Big 12 Media Days is Microsoft Copilot. That is Microsoft's artificial intelligence. They have a little kiosk over there. And so I was questioning, okay, well, if there's not a food sponsor, who's gonna hook up the media folks with some treats?
Yeah.
We like our treats as media. I'm proud to report that there was a bag of Old Trapper beef jerky in a little goodie bag for the media when I arrived today. So the Old Trapper beef jerky survives.
All right, good. Love to hear that. I also love the idea of Big 12 Media Days being the back-to-school carnival of college football. I think that's a really funny visual. One other thing, an actual serious football-related comment here. What has the gaggle around Texas Tech been? Because obviously that is one of, if not the story of the college football offseason, is Cody Campbell essentially trying to buy a team down there in Lubbock. And we talked to Shahan Jayaraja last week, or 2 weeks ago now, about his great story of what's going on in Lubbock. Have they had, to your, from what you've been able to see, an increased amount of attention from media folks down there in Frisco?
Yeah, they were certainly in demand today. They sent down as their contingent 6 players. So a lot of those guys made the rounds today. Baron Morton, Lee Hunter, Jacob Rodriguez is the preseason defensive player of the year in the conference. So, yeah, those guys certainly made the rounds. And I do think there's a lot of fascination in that team. I think that last year, maybe the last couple of years, the interesting team, the voyeur team was probably Colorado with Coach Prime, with Travis Hunter, with Shedeur Sanders, and all of that. I think Texas Tech has kind of surpassed them this year as far as being the team that everybody's kind of looking and saying, what's up with Texas Tech? What's this going to be? And it is, again, because of what they've done, how they've tried to go about building a roster and building a Big 12 powerhouse through the transfer portal. So, yeah, definitely a little bit more Red Raider buzz than you would typically get at an event like this.
I was joking about it the other day, or maybe it was even yesterday on the show, that Colorado is the only school that's bringing 2 quarterbacks with them. They've got a quarterback battle, Caden Salter and Juju Lewis, who's going to be their starter this year. They're also the only school bringing a special teamer. They're bringing their kicker tomorrow. That is,
yes, they are.
They might not be like the eye-popping team of college football this year, but it's going to be a zoo tomorrow. Dion knows how to make people pay attention to him, and I give him credit for that at the very least. And they'll be paying attention to the Buffs certainly tomorrow. We've got plenty of K-State coverage coming up throughout the show today. We're going to hear from Chris Klieman coming up here in just about 10 minutes or so. In fact, just under 10 minutes. Right now, though, we've got to get to a break. We'll come on back, play a quick round of Random Question Tuesday. We'll hear from Chris Klieman. It's all coming up in this first hour of 580 Sports Talk. Random question Tuesday time on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you. I am coming to you from right here in the capital city. Dan is quite a ways down I-35 in Frisco, Texas. How close to I-35 are you? Do you have to take quite a drive off the interstate, or are you pretty much right on the highway?
I trying to remember how long I was on the tollway last night. The Sam Rayburn Tollway, I think it's called. It's about 7 miles off the tollway. Just drive by. I said it, kind of maybe slip by some people, but Frisco, Texas is just an office park. That is what the entire suburb of Frisco is. It is just office park. That's all it is. Just office park. What if we made an entire suburb out of office park?
Hey, I mean, that's why they had all this land for the Star, right? Just undeveloped industrial land. All right, let's get to a couple quick random questions here. Dan, do you have one for us?
Yeah. Where should I go to dinner tonight? I drove past a Portillo's about 2 miles down the road. Another Chicago classic. Yeah.
In Texas? I knew they were in Arizona. I didn't know they had made their way to Texas.
They made their way to Frisco, Texas.
Wow.
There's In-N-Out, there's Whataburger. Where should I go to dinner tonight?
Is there a Torchy's within driving distance?
Great question. That would be Jake LeBon's choice. I know that much.
Man, I miss Torchy's. Torchy's was open in Lawrence for 3 weeks. It was delicious. I don't know why it didn't work out as a cursed building. You got to get something you can't get up here, which I guess would include Portillo's. No, I feel like you got to do an In-N-Out.
Yeah. I that's the only reason I'll leave the hotel room. It's unfortunate the Rangers are out of town. The Frisco Rough Riders are out of town. So there's no I'm a mile from the Rough Riders Park and they're out of town. So there's no real entertainment option. I just gotta go sit in my hotel room and FaceTime my family.
Damn, rough life.
Yeah. I mean there are worse alternatives, but man, I was looking for a ball game, man.
All right, my quick random question for you. Thought about this because I listened to the song on Saturday. I joked about it on Blue Sky. I've asked you before, what is the perfect song? What is the smoothest song? I'm not necessarily talking about smooth jazz, but you hear a song and go, oh, man, this track's just smooth, man.
The smoothest? The first one that jumps to my head is Use Me by Bill Withers.
That's a good one. That's a great answer.
Yeah, that one's smooth.
I was listening to some classics with ties to my hometown the other day. Saturday in the Park is what I was thinking of when I thought of this question the other day. Just a gorgeous song.
Sure. Yeah. Now it can't be abrasive, too much stabby horn or crunchy guitar or anything like that. It's got to be real smooth. Yeah, I think Use Me is the answer there. Just the first one I came up with.
Vance on YouTube, he goes with Venture Highway by America. Okay, that's a good one there. The Gilliland Family on YouTube, Fly Me to the Moon by Frank Sinatra. Yeah, that's a classic.
Sure, the classic crooner. Yeah.
Now, I think we just differ on this at least a little bit because you had your college band ruin it. I love Chicago, the band, though. I still love 25 to 6 to 4. I know you might not. I still love that song at the very least.
Desperately tired of that song.
Let's get to a commercial break. When we come back, Dan ran down K-State head coach Chris Klieman today. We're going to hear from the head coach of the Wildcats right after this on 580 Sports Talk.
All right, I'm going dark for the rest of the
580 Sports Talk from Big 12 Football Media Days continue here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And it's K-State Day at Media Days in Frisco. So without further ado, let's get to our first K-State interview of the day. Our Dan Lucero ran down head coach Chris Klieman of the Wildcats. So let's hear what the head Wildcat had to say from down in Frisco, Texas with our Dan Lucero.
Chris Klieman. Coach, how was your summer?
It's been fast. It's been quick. And we've got about a week left. I'm going to finally get away. I haven't been able to get away yet, so I'm going to get away for about a week after this, and then it'll be time to go.
Little vacation?
Yeah, my wife and I will finally get on a little bit of a vacation next week, and then we start back to work because our practice starts quickly.
Is it a more challenging summer? Do the summers get more challenging from your perspective as things evolve with regards to the transfer portal, NIL, things like that? Do you notice that it gets different, that it changes every year, that there's not maybe as much consistency to it as there was maybe in the past?
Yeah, but this is the biggest challenge of the summer because of the house settlement just getting done late June, right after your camps and right after your OVs. You were able to take a break there for at least 3 weeks. You couldn't this time because you're getting contracts out, you're making sure that the rev share stuff is in order with a general manager, and so this has been, the shortest summer for sure.
Let's talk about your football team, and we're going to start under center with Avery Johnson coming back. He's a vet now. He's a junior. He's an upperclassman now. When you evaluate his tape, you and Matt Wells, the offensive coordinator, and Avery himself, who's the most critical of him? Who's the most and I don't mean that to say that it's all his film is bad, but who is the most critical of what Avery did last year and what he needs to do to take that next step this year?
Well, I think the most important part of that question is Avery's the most critical. He's the most critical on himself, which is awesome. And then obviously secondly would be Coach Wells, because Coach Wells does a phenomenal job of challenging the kid, but Avery knows Wells loves him, but he challenges him, and Avery likes that challenge. And so you're right. He's had 13 games under his belt last year, had a really good season. I know there's more in him. He knows there's more in himself. But you're right. That experience is going to be huge for him.
We're talking to Chris Klieman, head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats from Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, Texas. What is the thing, if there's one thing above anything else for Avery that he's got to do or refine to make sure that he is able to take that leap and be in that upper echelon, not just in the Big 12, but in the country?
Yeah, I don't think there's one thing. I just think there's a combination of things, whether it's we're going to give him more things at the line of scrimmage because he's more experienced. He's so gifted when he turns and runs, but there's times that maybe you could stay in the pocket and throw the ball downfield. There's times where he needs to get out on the edge and stress it and then beat people with his legs. I think all those things, as well as just knowing circumstances and quarterback to a head coach to an OC, but that's something that I think comes with the experience as well. So I just think we're going to see an elevation in all phases for Avery this year.
You've got a running back on the cusp of a breakout. You've got a true number one at wide receiver and some new faces in that room, maybe the deepest tight end room in the country. And we can get to all of that, but obviously everything starts up front. You've got 4 transfers in on the offensive line this year. Is that as competitive as that offensive line room has been, given what you have brought in and the standard of performance you're looking to get back to this year?
Yeah, I'm excited about the guys that we've added with the guys that are coming back, and with Brian LePack taking over that room. Brian's done a terrific job. Brian's a great football coach. We hated to lose Coach Riles to this place here at Dallas, but Brian's done a great job. You're 100%. We probably are a solid 9. Maybe now we need to find that 10th or 11th guy right now, but we're going to be able to play more guys, especially early on, and that's something that we probably have seen over the last few years. If there's one position that maybe did start to wear down, it was the offensive line, and that's our job to make sure that we do get some of these younger guys or the transfers in there early on during the season. Even though there's not much of a non-con, we're rolling right away, but we still have to play a lot of players.
Is the idea as you go along to find a 5 and roll with that? Or do you think that you can be successful and enjoy that kind of continuity while still maybe rolling some guys in and out and going 7 or 8 deep up front?
We have to. Bottom line, we have to. We've got to be able to play 7 or 8 guys. Sam Hecht, who's our center, who I think is one of the best players in the Big 12, that's the one that's hard to pull out. You don't want to take that away from your quarterback, the communication and all those things. So Sam's probably the one that isn't going to come out very much. But all the other ones, I think we have to be able to take out a little bit, whether it's because of the good youth behind them that we got to get continued ready or, Taylor Poitier, 7th-year guy, great football player. Taylor could be so much better if he played 15 less plays. I really believe that. I think Taylor's getting himself in shape to play all 70, but if we could play him 55 and we have him stronger from game 1 to game 13 and he's playing at his best, those are things that we have to continue to weigh.
Chris Klieman is the head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats, joining us from Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, Texas. We're at the practice home of the Dallas Cowboys, and there are reminders of the glory years of the Cowboys and the triplets in the 90s. They had the elite quarterback, Troy Aikman. They had the great running back, Emmitt Smith. They had the great wide receiver, Michael Irvin. K-State football this year, you've got Avery Johnson. You've got now Dylan Edwards moving into running back number 1. You got Jace Brown at wide receiver number 1. I want to talk about Jace first because he really erupted towards the end of last season. There's a connection there, it seems like, with Avery and understanding that any great quarterback receiver duo has. How have they developed that?
One, they lived together. They're roommates and came in together, and they both played as true freshmen. I've been so impressed and proud of Jace, how he's attacked the offseason and how he's attacked the summer. He's also put on really good weight. He's gotten faster. I think the ability for us to find a couple of other players, which we did at wide receiver, and Jerron Bradley, Jerron Tibbs, Caleb Medford, will keep Jace in a specific spot and not have to bounce him around everywhere, which allows people to key in on him more. I think the other weapons that we were able to get, I think, helps Jace even more. But I'm excited. Jace knows that this is a big-time year for him, and he's got that chemistry with the quarterback, and he's played a lot of football, and he's gotten bigger and stronger.
Dylan Edwards had the huge bowl game, and now we get to see him move into that running back 1 role. Obviously, he's a different build, different kind of runner than DJ Giddens, who had a superlative season for you last year. Do you have to change a lot about the running game with Dylan Edwards, or are you able to do a lot of the same things with him? How do you envision him, and where do you envision his role this year? Where can he be a 20 to 25 carry guy, or are we going to see a bit more of guys like Joe Jackson and more of a platoon in that spot?
I think that's what's going to make all of our offensive skill guys better is we have more than just Avery, Jace, and Dylan. You mentioned Joe Jackson. I mentioned the other wide receivers. We also have one of the best tight end rooms in the Big 12. So we're not going to have to put all the pressure on somebody. That being said, Dylan proved in the Rate Bowl that he can be an every down back, that he can be an inside the tackles runner on his 70-yard touchdown run to getting the ball in space and making people miss and scoring. He can do all those things. But the more that we can do with some of our other players, the more things are going to open up for Dylan. I think last year people knew we were going to give it to DJ Giddens, and he may get 6, but he's going to get popped around a lot. We have so many more players this year that, he may carry it 25 times one game. Maybe he'll carry it 12 the next week and get 5 catches. We've got to get Dylan Edwards the ball. That's an obvious statement. It's just how do we do that now? Plus, we have more people to get the ball too.
It's fun to talk offense, especially with some of the skill players you have. But over on the defensive side of the ball, you could have one of the best defenses in the Big 12 this season. It starts in the middle. Austin Romaine, preseason, first-team All-Big 12 player. What has enabled him to go from a guy who was maybe not top in the pecking order in his recruiting class when he came in to a guy who's now the indispensable rock in the middle of that defense for you?
Yeah, Daniel Green, Austin Moore, Des Purnell. Those guys he learned from and how you prepare. I think Coach Steve Standard is one of the best linebacker coaches in the country, and he gets the most out of guys. And guys play extremely hard. They know what they're doing. Austin's does everything well. He runs well. He runs through contact well. He's a really, really smart kid. He directs all the traffic out there. No, without a doubt, I think he's one of the best linebackers in the country. But it's hard work. He's put in the time. He's put in the effort. He's built his body up. He had nagging injuries as a true freshman because he probably didn't realize he was going to be thrust in that kind of role, and then got better and better his sophomore year to be dominant late in the sophomore year, and we expect a dominant junior year. You look at the kids like that. You've got Dylan, you've got Jace, you got Avery, you've got Austin. All those kids are in the same class, and they all played as true freshmen. I mean, it's a special class we have.
You have turned out a lot of defensive backs to the NFL in recent years, including this past year with Jacob Parrish being an NFL draft pick. You've got two sophomores in Zashawn Rich and Donovan McIntosh who got some opportunities late last year, got some opportunities in the bowl game. I know you're really excited about what they can do. How do you expect them to perform with the big opportunity in front of them to kind of take the bull by the horns and be the starting cornerbacks for your team?
The Rate Bowl was huge for them. Them learning from Jacob Parrish was big for them. They're also a lot bigger. You know, they're 200-plus pound guys, and they just need continued reps and experience. We also have Justice James back for another year, and he's played in the program 3 years. Jaden Rowe, a transfer from Oklahoma's in the program too. So it's not like we just have those two. We have a number of guys, and we've played a lot of defensive backs, but I'm excited about those two young kids that are just going to be sophomores this year. Of what they can do, and because they've got as much ability as anybody we've had back there.
A couple more for Chris Klieman, head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats. Defensive line, is it going to look a little different this year? We've heard some talk about maybe some more four-man fronts this season. Do you have the depth at defensive tackle, the personnel to be able to do that primarily, or is it going to be a mix? Is it just kind of depend on the game situation? You can be fluid.
Yeah, we're still going to base out of our 3-3-5. That's what we've practiced. That's what we've known the last 3 years. It's been really good defense for us. What we changed a little bit, even late last season, is on third down, getting to some four-man looks to get our best pass rushers on the field. You know, rather than putting Des Purnell down or Austin Romaine down, let's let those guys stay in coverage and maybe put another defensive lineman in on passing situations. But we have really good depth there. We've got better depth at defensive end probably than we do D-tackle. You know, we've got Damian Anuso that'll man that nose spot. But we'll base and play out of our 3 down like we always have.
Last thing for you. You hit the ground running, as you mentioned. There is no easing into the 2025 season. You go to Ireland, you play Iowa State. It's a conference game. You know Iowa State's really good. They've gotten you the last couple of years. How does that change how you prepare for the season? Does it add urgency? Does it add the desire to make sure everything is in its proper working order before that first game? How does it change how you approach that sort of run-up to week 0?
All of the above. It affects all of them. And the fact that we don't have 120 kids, we have 105 kids. And the fact that we start on July 23rd, and we don't have school all the way up until that first game. So we were able to spend more time on an opponent, similar to Iowa State, probably the same way. The fact that we have 3 bye weeks. I mean, we've mapped out the whole season. Now we have to continue to tweak that because we're starting on July 22nd and hope to be playing in January. That's a long season, so our sports science department will do a great job, but we've got to do a great job of making sure that we keep our guys healthy.
How do you turn it into a positive? How do you make it to where, okay, yes, we've got to be ready. We've got to be on our P's and Q's for week 0 in a way that maybe no other team in the country has to be ready, locked in, because it's a huge conference game and it's quite a road trip. How do you turn that into a positive for the rest of the season?
Well, the positive is the fact that we're getting a chance to play on national TV in week 0 and the only game on that matters on television that day. That's the positive of it that we're excited about. But it also, and Matt and I have had the conversation, it's not going to define our season either. You know, both of us want to win the game, but I think we got 2 of the better teams in the league that there's a lot of football left. We're going to find out a lot about some young guys. We're going to find out about some transfers. I'm sure Matt will do the same thing. But it's a great opportunity to showcase the Big 12 on national television in a week 0 game.
Chris Klieman is the head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time. Enjoy the car wash here at Media Days today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That is K-State head coach Chris Klieman joining our Dan Lucero earlier today down at Big 12 Football Media Days. Awesome stuff from Coach Klieman. We're going to hear from Avery Johnson coming up next hour, QB1. We're hoping to have him live to open up the hour. Tim Fitzgerald will join us for the Wildcat Wrap-up as well in the 4 o'clock hour. Des Purnell, the K-State safety and Topeka native, will join us in the 5 o'clock hour today. Before we get to the news at the top of the hour, I have a pair of tickets to give away for Whiskey Myers at Starlight Theater in Kansas City coming up on Saturday. So this is a quick turnaround. We're going to email these tickets to you before Saturday. It is a pair of tickets, 6:30 Saturday night, Whiskey Myers at the best concert venue in the greater Kansas City area, Starlight Theater. I want to send you, we're going to do this twice today. We're going to do this right now, and we're going to do this at the end of the 4 o'clock hour as well. So if you don't get in this time, don't worry. You're going to have a chance a little bit later on in the program as well. So again, a pair of tickets, last chance to win them. We'll go with caller number 2 to 785-272-9429. This pair of tickets to see Whiskey Myers in Kansas City on Saturday will be yours. We'll get to the news. We've got Avery Johnson to lead off the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk here on the Sports Voice of Kansas.
So, you're looking for some custom jewelry?
Yeah, I was thinking I'm wanting something like this one, but also I really like that one and the top area thing. I know this isn't making much sense. Just having...
Actually, that makes perfect sense.
It does?
You don't need to be the expert. That's our job, and we'll make sure your custom jewelry is
exactly what I imagined.
Exactly what you imagined. Come see us at Topeka's own Calhoun's Jewelers.
Life comes with pressure. Financial, career, and family struggles weigh us down. It's hard to concentrate. We don't feel like ourselves. And anxiety becomes depression without warning. Katie's Way offers compassionate, confidential care with counseling, medication, and game-changing technology. Wanting to improve your mental health shows strength, not weakness. At Katie's Way, helping you find hope will always be our mission.
Stay connected for news, sports, weather, and ag on the Voice of Kansas, FM 104.9, 580 AM, WIBW, Topeka.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. The search continues for victims of the Texas floods. Governor Greg Abbott says at least 161 people are still missing.
Know this, we will not stop until every missing person is accounted for.
Local officials fielded questions about who is responsible for monitoring the weather.
Should be able to recovery. Who was in charge of the emergency operations center at the time that was getting Avery? Do we have another question?
President Trump says he will travel there, as Linda Kenyon reports.
The president made the announcement at a cabinet meeting.
I'll be going down on Friday with First Lady.
He also reflected on the search and rescue operations.
There's a lot of helicopters up there, but they were real pros and they were responsible for pulling out a lot of people.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said FEMA has been helping with the state-run operations.
We were able to get them resources and dollars right away, just like you envisioned.
Calling the flooding tragic. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
Trump is insisting his August 1st deadline for dozens of countries to reach a trade deal hasn't shifted.
We don't change very much. Every time we put out a statement, they say, you made a change. I didn't make a change. A clarification, maybe. August 1st they pay.
The Supreme Court today cleared the way for President Trump to downsize the federal workforce. A lower court had put a freeze in place. You can keep your shoes on at many airport security checkpoints now.
The TSA agent was really happy because she said, oh, you don't have to take off your shoes. I was watching others go through the screening and they didn't take their shoes off. And I was like, yes, finally.
The security screening mandate was put in place almost 20 years ago after the shoe bomber Richard Reed attempted to take down a flight from Paris to Miami. Sean Diddy Combs will be sentenced in October, as Matt Piper reports.
Probation officials rejected both sides' plan to move the date up by about a week and a half. No arguments were presented in the afternoon hearing, which lasted about 2 minutes. Prosecutors want Combs behind bars up to 5 years, while his defense says it wants less than the recommended 21 to 27 months.
He was convicted of prostitution-related offenses. Sanitation workers in Philadelphia have been on strike for more than a week now, and the trash is overflowing at drop-off locations around the city. Residents are just hoping for an end to it all.
The mayor, whoever's responsible for this, pay these people. I mean, pay them what they need and let them do their job.
On Wall Street, investors have been closely following the trade news. Stocks finished mixed. The Dow Jones Industrials were off 165 points. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Get renter's insurance to protect the things that make your place a home, including coverage for theft or damage. Visit Progressive.com.
This Kansas Information Network update is brought to you by Eaton Roofing and Exteriors.
I'm Jared Broyles for 13 News. The Hunt family says a young family member passed in the recent Texas floods. Tavia Hunt, the wife of the Kansas City Chiefs CEO Clark Hunt, posted on Instagram that a cousin of the Hunt family had passed. Quote, "Our hearts are broken by the devastation from the floods in Wimberley, the tragic loss of so many lives, including a precious little Hunt cousin, along with several friends' little girls," Hunt posted on Instagram yesterday. The death toll is past 80 victims as search and rescue crews continue to search for those still missing. A Wichita man has died following a motorcycle crash last night in Osage County. The crash happened shortly before 7:45 p.m. on the Kansas Turnpike near the Shawnee County line. The motorcycle left the road, overcorrected, overturned, and rolled several times before catching fire. 69-year-old Christian Kaufman was ejected and taken to a hospital where he died. He was wearing a helmet. I'm Jared Broyles for 13 News.
This Kansas Information Network update is brought to you by Eaton Roofing and Exteriors.
Here's your updated forecast on 580 WIBW. Partly cloudy this afternoon with a high of 89. Winds out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles an hour. 69 tonight. Daytime highs approaching 93 tomorrow. Temperatures above average Thursday and Friday with highs from the low 90s to the mid 90s. Chance of thunderstorms Friday. I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Capital Federal Weather Center. Right now, it's 88 degrees.
This is the voice of Kansas, WIBW Topeka.
Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk, live at the Star in Frisco, Texas for Big 12 Football Media Days. I am Dan Lucero, and we're jumping right into it in hour number 2 with QB1 of the Kansas State Wildcats. Joining us live here from Frisco, Texas, a very tired Avery Johnson joins us on the program. Avery, this is interview like number 68 for you today. Appreciate you taking the time and sitting down with us. We were talking before we went on the air. This is your second one of these. You were in Vegas for the media days last year, so it's you're a veteran of the process now. But is it a little bit fun to be here and see your teammates, the guys you're going to compete against this year, the coaches, the media, and kind of get that feel of like it's the first day of school, like it feels like football season is even closer now?
Yeah, I think just like what you said, like football season feels like it's right around the corner, which it is, and we're all excited just to get back on that field and line it up and play our first game again. So really excited to be able to have that week 0 game and have all eyes on us and be able to kick off the college football season and really just get back and play a week earlier than everybody else. I feel like we got the lucky draw right there.
I asked your head coach, Chris Klieman, this question. I want to get your perspective on this question. When you look back at last season, you watch your film, you're looking for ways to get better from your sophomore year. Who is the most critical when you watch your film from last season? Is it you? Is it Coach Klieman? Is it Matt Wells? Who's most critical of what you see on tape from last year as far as the things you can improve upon as a player?
Really me. I mean, I'm so hard on myself, and I've always been that way, and I always will be that way. No matter how good I do, it'll never be enough, but not too hard on myself where I'm just beating myself into the ground. You got to have that happy medium, but never getting complacent. I'm always finding things that I can do better, and Coach Wells does a good job as well to be able to put together cut-ups. And I'll say my top 3 things I feel like I need to work on. He'll say his top 3 things that he feels like we need to work on, and 99% of the time, our top 3s match up just well, just alike. So being able to have that second opinion and really focus on what I need to do to improve to be the best version of myself definitely helps.
What was at the top of that list? If the road to preparation for 2025 started at the conclusion of the Rate Bowl last year, what was the thing that was at the top of your list that this is what I need to do to improve and this is my roadmap to get there?
First was pocket movement, being able to have base, good feet in the pocket, always ready to throw no matter what, being able to move, reset, get the ball out. Being able to throw a better deep ball was another thing, and just be more of an effective runner. Don't run timid, run the ball hard, being able to make defenses pay, and not try to do too much, be able to take checkdowns whenever we need to do that.
Kansas State quarterback Avery Johnson joining us from Big 12 Media Days here in Frisco, Texas. Let's talk about the guys around you this coming season. It's a really exciting group of skill guys. The Rate Bowl felt like a bit of a preview of coming attractions for Dylan Edwards. That was his first opportunity to get the primary carries, and he had a monster game. What are we going to see from him this coming year? Because you know him better than anybody else on that roster. What is he going to be capable of with increased opportunities in the offense this season?
I think it just what you guys saw in the Rate Bowl. Like, whenever he gets the ball in his hands in space, he's so explosive, and he can take anytime he touches the ball, he can take it 60. So appreciate you. Being able to have a guy like that in the backfield where you know he can break at any moment is definitely something defenses should be worried about. But I'm just excited, like you said, that Dylan is going to be the main, being able to get the main touches and being able to do his thing, because I know he's ready for the moment.
Jace Brown really erupted down the stretch last year, proved he's a true wide receiver #1 in this Big 12 conference. You've got some transfers coming in this year, some guys to really be excited about. What's kind of the overall skill level of this wide receiver room, and what kinds of things do they bring to the table as far as their skill sets that can help bolster the offense?
Yeah, I think it's the best it's ever been, and y'all know about Jason. He's a high motor guy that can go and really take the top off the defense. You got brought in JB and C-Med and Tibbs, and those guys will all help us this year. All had really good springs, guys that are explosive, can go up and get jump balls, do things like that. We have some young guys too, like Sterling hasn't really got his opportunity on the field, but he's had a really good spring. He's looked really good. JD is a JUCO guy we just got, really good route runner. Super hard on himself, super big competitor, a guy you want on your team. And then I feel like it's the deepest our room has been, so I'm just excited to see those guys be able to line it up this fall.
I think you've got the best tight end room in the country. Swanson, Oakley, Ancio, and then you add one of the top recruits in the country, another Kansas kid, Lincoln Cure, to that group. How competitive are those guys just in their own room, in their own position battle there at tight end, and how much better do those guys make each other? Because you better be really good to get ahead of those guys on the depth chart and ahead of those guys in terms of snap count. So how competitive do you sense that those guys are kind of with each other to make sure that they're in position to be out there and be big contributors this season?
Yeah, they're really competitive, and they understand that we're really deep at that position, and some guys might be better at things than other guys, but at the end of the day, like, those guys work so hard and they do so much dirty work and don't get enough credit for what they do. I agree with you. We do have the best tight end room in the nation, and that's the most selfless group we have on our team. Like, those guys are always cheering up one another. If one person scores, they all score. So I think that's just a testament to, Coach Klieman and his leadership, and really just how those guys were raised, and the brotherhood we have at K-State, because those guys really do truly care for one another.
You get to practice against the defense every day. We've been talking to some of your defensive teammates throughout the day, and I know a big emphasis, not just on defense, the whole team, but defense in particular. The emphasis was get bigger, get stronger, get faster. Do you sense that those guys on that side of the ball are a little stronger, a little faster, a little maybe a bit quicker coming into this season?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we're pretty deep. Like I said it all day, we're really deep at the defensive end position. We have high motor guys that can go and will rotate, and we'll play a lot of guys this year, and super talented in that room. So I'm super excited for our defensive line. And then you get to that secondary. We got Austin Romaine coming back, Dez spearheading that as well. Those two guys you got Asa Newsom coming off of an injury of last year, Rex Van Wine, guys like that, guys who played quality snaps for us last year. And then, VJ leading that secondary. Will be a lot of new faces in the secondary this year, but a lot of talented guys, some guys that transferred in that played a lot of snaps of college football before. So we got some guys coming off injury. So it's just how well can those guys communicate? How well can we mesh together? But I'm super excited for the blueprint and how things are looking for us this far.
A few more questions for Avery Johnson, the starting quarterback for the Kansas State Wildcats, joining us from Big 12 Media Day in Frisco, Texas. You're a vet now. You're a junior. You're an upperclassman. You're a second-year starter now. How does that feel any different for you, knowing that the young guys on the team now, the guys who are incoming freshmen, are really looking to you because now you have that full season of starting under your belt. You are an upperclassman. Do you feel added leadership responsibilities, or is that something you kind of just have always felt given your spot at quarterback?
Yeah, I definitely feel older. A lot of guys looking up to me and asking me questions and how to do this thing, how to do whatever. But I definitely do feel like it just comes with the position, something I signed up for, something I knew I was signing up for. So just continuing to grow as my leadership role, continuing to be a great leader and a role model for young guys to come up to and model their work ethic after. But it's nothing that I can't handle.
When I walk to the stadium on game day, when I'm walking to Bill Snyder Family Stadium, walking through the tailgates and everything, and this is a product of the NIL era, right? It used to be you could sell a jersey with a number on the back, but now it can be a name and a number. There's a lot of Johnson jerseys in that parking lot, a lot of kids wearing your jersey, lots of fans with your name and number on the back. What does that mean to you when you see that, when you have those interactions with fans, when you see that's you're the guy that they want to represent when they put the K-State colors on? What does that represent? What does that mean to you, especially being a kid from Kansas?
Yeah, it means so much, just being able to impact young kids' lives and be a role model to kids like that and somebody that these kids look up to, because I was in their shoes at one point, and I was looking up to college quarterbacks and NFL quarterbacks, and it just means a lot doing the catwalk and being able to interact with fans before the game, and like you said, seeing all those jerseys and stuff like that, because it definitely touches my heart, and I'm super excited that they're willing to wear my jersey and support me as well as the Wildcats.
Last question for you, Avery. Going to put you in the offensive coordinator's shoes. You get to play as Matt Wells here for a second. 3rd and 7. You need to call a play to ice the game. First down wins the game on a 3rd down and 7. What are you calling? What do you like in that spot to go win a football game? Ice it with a first down.
Kind of just depends on who you're playing, man. I mean, what are we going to see? We're probably going to see cover 2 or man. If we're seeing man, I like rub routes. You can catch an easy mesh route at 5. He's going to run to 7. If we're seeing zone, I like pistol dagger. I feel like it's good versus too high. Might be something that we're a little bit more comfortable calling, but it just kind of depends on who we're seeing and what tendencies they have. What do they do at 3rd and 7? What coverages do they run at 3rd and 7? But yeah, if I had to simplify it down, I would say man would do some type of rub route, probably mesh. And then if we're going to see cover 2, I'd probably go pistol.
Avery Johnson is the quarterback of the Kansas State Wildcats, joining us live from Big 12 Media Days here at the Star in Frisco, Texas. Avery, thanks for taking the time at the end of a very long day. Safe travels back to Manhattan.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is Avery Johnson joining us here from Frisco, Texas. I appreciate the starting quarterback of the Kansas State Wildcats taking the time. It is a busy day. It's a whirlwind of a day, and Avery's been at everybody's table today. He has been as in demand as any player here today, befitting of his stature as a player with such a tremendous ceiling, such a tremendous talent. It's between him and Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt as far as the guys here today that everybody wanted a piece of. And so glad we were able to get Avery on here towards the end of his day. They're about 45 minutes. They're getting out of here, and they'll be back in Manhattan by 8 o'clock tonight. And I'll bet it's right to bed for all those guys.
Yeah, I think you're spot on about that, if I had to guess. Huge props to Avery and for all the fine folks at K-State Athletic Communications for helping us out today. And again, we'll hear from Des Purnell a little bit later on as well. I've said a number of times that I can't even tell you how many times at this point this offseason, Dan, that I think the maximum high side, high potential result for K-State this year, they can win the Big 12 and can be a college football playoff team. I think they can be good enough where even if they come up as the runner-up in the conference, they will be good enough that they can make it as an at-large into the college football playoff. I think that is the caliber of team that K-State can be this year. I think the biggest thing that hinges on is Avery Johnson taking the step from no doubt, very good college quarterback. I don't think anybody rational would disagree with that. That right now he is a very good college football quarterback. If he can improve to a minute level, a couple different things, he can be a great college football quarterback and into a legit NFL draft prospect even as soon as next year. The thing about that I want to make sure I emphasize, he is a very easy guy to root for. He's got, aside from not being like 6'5", he's got the look, he's got the leadership, he's got the attitude, the mobility, the arm. There's the cool factor to it. Like, he's got everything that you gravitate toward as a player or as a fan, or certainly as a media member. He's got all these skill sets. I want him to get there, and I hope he does, because he'll be remembered at K-State for a long time no matter what. He's a hell of a player. But I really, honest to God, believe he's got the chance to be like name on the side of the building good for this Kansas State program. And I think he can be that this year. I think this game against Iowa State, I know week 0 football is often gross, and very often we do not get the full picture of what a team can be when you're playing that early in August to start a year. But man, that game against Iowa State is going to craft narratives for players and for both of those teams that are going to last all the way until the postseason. And I really hope he can help this K-State team get off on the right foot in Dublin.
My thought on Avery Johnson is this. There are a lot of really good quarterbacks in this conference. And we'll talk more about this as we go along today and into tomorrow. And as we're talking all the way up until the start of the Big 12 season. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think this is the best quarterback conference in America. When you talk about what guys have proven on the field, now they put the stat up. They're running, facts, Big 12 football facts on the message board where the main podium is at one of the end zones here at the Ford Center at the Star. And one of the stats they have is there were 9 quarterbacks returning in the Big 12 this year who throw for over 2,400 yards last season. And no other conference in the Power 4 has half that many. 9 quarterbacks in the conference, 9 of 16 teams, 9 quarterbacks who threw for 2,400 yards or more last year. There is experience and there is talent. But the thing that is so tantalizing about Avery Johnson, the thing that is so exciting about what he can be and what Kansas State can be, we may have seen as good as Sam Leavitt can be. Maybe we haven't, but Leavitt was exceeded expectations last season. Sawyer Robertson, I think, maybe exceeded expectations at Baylor. Outstanding player. There were a lot of guys who exceeded expectations in such a way that I think what we saw from them is kind of what we get from them. And I don't think that is the case with Avery Johnson. Look, 25 touchdown passes last year's a K-State single season record, but there's more from him that we can see. There's more from him as a runner that we didn't get to see because he dealt with a nagging injury midway through the season. There's more from him as a passer. You heard him tell it, getting his feet set, being a better thrower on the move. Those kinds of things that are going to just round out the package for him as a quarterback. I think he's got the most room to grow of any of the starting quarterbacks for Big 12 contenders. And the ceiling for Avery Johnson, I think, is higher than, and I say this with all due respect to a conference full of quarterbacks that I really like. Leavitt, Robertson, Morton at Texas Tech, I think, has a ceiling that he hasn't gotten to yet. Becht at Iowa State, Dampier, the transfer in from Utah, out of New Mexico. I think there are really, really good quarterbacks in this league. I think Avery Johnson's ceiling is the best of them. And I'm just so excited to see if he can realize that, because if he can, then Kansas State's going to play in Arlington, not in this building. They're going to play in Arlington, the big building that the Cowboys own, come December. And then they're going to play in the college football playoff. And I think that is the reality for Kansas State and their ceiling with a kid like Avery Johnson. And I just think he stacks up so well compared to even the verifiably outstanding quarterbacks that are up and down this league. Even the programs that you don't feel like are serious contenders, maybe you feel like are a little lower on the list. Have a guy like Brennan Sorsby was pretty good last year for Cincinnati. Caden Salter at Colorado, if he wins that job, he was awesome at Liberty 2 years ago and got them to a New Year's Six Oaks Bowl. Who else? Connor Wegman's got tremendous recruiting pedigree and has a chance at Houston to try and finally live up to that. His recruiting pedigree is as good as any quarterback in the conference. So I just think top to bottom, the depth at quarterback is so impressive in this league. It's a big part, obviously, of the league's narrative if they're pushing those stats. And Avery Johnson could be the star of stars. That is the realistic ceiling for him as a player. He could be the very best of a very talented group of Big 12 quarterbacks.
No, I agree with you on everything that you said right there. I was listening to the Cover 3 podcast over at CBS Sports last night. They did a preview of Big 12 Media Days, and they were talking some recruiting as well. And they were talking about Felix Ojo, the new class of 2026 left tackle who committed to Texas Tech, got that big revenue share deal, whatever. And they made a comment about how, look, the Big 12, as it stands currently, and for a while now, has not been a great trenches league. There have been some very good players and some good prospects, but it hasn't been a great, just unbelievable tackle play, unbelievable interior guys, elite defensive lines. Haven't been a lot of those. So if you get a guy like Ojo when he hits, well, that's a huge advantage. And I think you can even look, at K-State, which is a good offensive line, and say, I don't know of any guys who were like the elite of the elite. I think Cooper Beebe was underrated, but other than that, I think that's entirely fair. But the flip side of that, I think this is, in terms of depth, top to bottom, I think without question, this is the best quarterback league in the country. And I think you can even argue at the top. I pulled up 3 random rankings of the Big 12, SEC, and Big 10 quarterbacks right now. And I mean, we know the guys in the Big 12. We can pull them up as necessary. But the Big 10 quarterbacks, Dan, I'm looking at the ranking from the Sporting News. Okay, number 1, they've got Drew Aller, who, Drew Aller's an above average college quarterback, but I also think he is extremely overrated by media companies who need to sell quarterback hype, to be completely honest with you. Number 2, Julian Sayin. You know what he hasn't ever done? Started a college football game. Never. Once in his life. Number 3, Luke Altmaier in Illinois. Luke Altmaier is a very nice college quarterback. I like Luke Altmaier. He's not better than Jalen Daniels. And Jalen, because he's been in college for forever and has the back injuries, he slid down the list of Big 12 guys. Luke Altmaier's not better than him. He'd be like your, 7th best Big 12 quarterback, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating to think of it in that regard. Andrew in the YouTube comments, welcome in, Andrew, asks if we think the Heisman this year is going to come out of the Big 12 conference. That I don't know, because the Heisman is very much a popularity contest, and a lot of times it just does kind of tend to go to best player on best team. It does, I think it's more likely. I will say this. I will say no, just playing the probability and the numbers game and understanding how this sport is covered now. But I'll be honest with you, between Avery and Sam Levitt, 2 guys that now have hype, because you almost certainly have to have some kind of hype. They've got hype. They've got teams that should both be good. Levitt's already got the narrative from a year ago. Avery, if they hit right away and he has a great start to the season, you get the whole Prince that was promised narrative behind him. It's not likely, but I think both of those 2 guys have very obvious cases to be in the running right away. Avery's not near the top of the Vegas odds to start the year like he was last year, relatively speaking. He's down a little bit this year. I think the 2 of them have a legitimate chance, though. I think it's those 2, and maybe you can throw Baron Morton in there because of the buzz that Texas Tech is getting. If they go, I think for a Big 12 player to win it, that team's going to have to run the table. And I think it's going to be really hard in this league, because I think I think there's a lot of balance at the top of the league. But I think that is what would have to happen for the voters to give it to a Big 12 quarterback, instead of saying, well, Clemson went 11-1 here, Cade Klubnik. Or LSU went 11-1. Here you go, Garrett Nussmeier. Or Texas had a pulse, but he's a Manning, and we screwed up not giving it to his uncle all those years ago. So, Arch, congratulations on your Heisman. Like, there are much more irresistible voting narratives that exist for non-Big 12 players, but there are certainly going to be some Big 12 quarterbacks that are in the mix, I think, by the end of the season. Guys who have a chance to be that kind of good. And there are going to be guys who are in the narrative discussion that you're going to think about and think, man, there's 4 or 5 Big 12 quarterbacks I'd rather have than that guy.
I think this is a great quarterback league. Again, I'm just going through the list of these Big Ten guys. Like, is the shine still on Dylan Raiola? He's young. He is a high ceiling, but he's a long way from it right now. Like, that's your 5th best quarterback in the Big Ten? Yikes.
Yeah, like Fernando Mendoza, you believe the hype at IU? I don't know. I just think there's a lot more depth in the Big 12 when it comes to quarterbacks. Like,
agreed.
Easily. Like, I like the guys at the top of the SEC, like Lenore Sellers, Nussmeier I mentioned.
I like Arch. I'll say it. I like Arch. I like John Mateer.
He can be great.
I think John Mateer is a ton of fun. I think the upside for him is crazy high. I also think the downside is Brent Venables. Get ready to learn NFL position coach next year, buddy. Because if that doesn't work, they're going to win 4 games. Like, the bad with Mateer is terrible, even though the good is great. Like, give me the Big 12 crop, man, every day of the week.
Yeah. No, I've been pounding the table for it, and I'm glad I have at least one convert here on the radio program.
We've got to get to a commercial break. Tim Fitzgerald is going to join us live in person coming up in just under 10 minutes for the Wildcat Wrap-up. But we've got What Is Wrong With You brought to you by Ryan Mo Winkle coming up right after this on a Big 12 Football Media Days edition of 580 Sports Talk.
Neither you nor your animals are fans of heat stress. Valley Vet Supply has many fan options to help around the farm and at the fair. Cool those 4-H livestock projects with a powerful 24-inch turbo fan with an optional water misting ring. For lambs, goats, and show pigs, the 12-inch Cool Breeze fan is a perfect match. Add available mounting stands to make these fans ideal for the livestock fair. Valley Vet Supply has large portable drum fans that are popular in farm shops and work areas. And Valley Vet's new 18-inch indoor-outdoor waterproof fan is a hit for patios, porches, horse stalls, and show barns. At valleyvet.com, you'll find exceptional value and a large selection of meds and more shipped fast and free on most orders over $75. Find your ranching needs at valleyvet.com or shop their store in Marysville.
Valleyvet.com, valleyvet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
This is a special notice to U.S. taxpayers owing $10,000 or more to the IRS. Tax Relief Advocates is urgently notifying taxpayers that tax relief initiatives are now available that may significantly reduce or eliminate what you owe. If you're afraid of an IRS lien, levy, or wage garnishment, don't lose hope. You can now take advantage of these current relief programs to end all collections, reduce the amount you owe, and resolve your tax problem. Even if you have years of unfiled tax returns or are already in a payment plan, you may still qualify for significant relief. Struggling taxpayers can now get relief they need during these hard economic times. A hotline has been established by Tax Relief Advocates for you to call and see what you qualify for. They are A+ rated with the BBB and have over 1,000 5-star reviews. Don't wait. Call 800-575-7147. 800-575-7147. That's 800-575-7147 or simply visit tra.com.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius or 2 half geniuses and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies.
Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you by Ryan Mowinkle. Go visit him online, ryanmowinkle.com. That's Mohwinkle. He's got KU and K-State tie. Sure, he's fired up for the college football season. We had a tie yesterday, and Dan, I need to revisit, before we get to our two stories today, we're a little short on time. I would like to make an amendment to yesterday's show. I am going to flip my vote for the naked guy in the pool. I thought about this all night. That one, like the other story, drove me nuts. And I think it's a major narc move to be looking over someone's shoulder to read their phone on an airplane. Like, that's a major bro code violation. However, this dude got naked in a pool and they tried to lasso him out with a hose and they could not get him out. He got onto the deck and jumped back into the water to mess with the cops.
Like he's somebody's golden retriever.
So I'm flipping my vote, and I am going to move to make that our overall winner yesterday.
I'm good with that. I'm good with the guy standing in the pool for 6 hours. 6 hours? 4 Unbelievable.
Hours. Imagine how pruny that man was.
So pruny.
My
gosh.
Paul on YouTube calls him the pool noodle.
That's good. That's strong.
That's really good. All right, Dan, what do you got for us today?
All right, we go to Oklahoma City. Wouldn't you say it's pretty important to be weather aware, particularly in this part of the country where tornadoes and flash floods and weather like that are always a threat? Wouldn't you say it's always good to be weather aware?
Absolutely.
One gentleman decided that the folks in Oklahoma City should be less weather aware, so he destroyed the weather radar of a local TV station.
Oh, my God.
Surveillance footage shows a gentleman Sunday night arriving at the radar site of News 9 in Oklahoma City, climbed the fence, disabled a key power disconnect, smashed the power meter, and broke into the generator's transfer switch control panel before destroying it. He then destroyed all of the security cameras, but not before one of them got a clean look at his face. Thankfully, damage to the next-gen live radar for News 9 Oklahoma City was only temporary, and service has been fully restored. I understand people get angry sometimes when severe weather coverage interrupts their favorite show. But look, there's no episode of Wheel of Fortune or FBI Most Wanted that is worth taking down an entire radar system, particularly, again, in a part of the country where being weather aware is super important.
No, that's terrible. That's really, really awful. You're messing with people's lives, man. Come on. You can't do that.
Exactly.
You can't do that. All right. Second story today on What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Ryan Mowinkle. Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services. You go to Key West, where a guy celebrated his birthday by getting high on meth and stealing a tour bus.
Sure.
Key West police said a man told officers, "Today's my birthday," after he was being told he was under arrest for stealing a conch tour train on the 4th of July. So I guess on Key West, they have the tour bus, but it's molded to look like a train. Essentially, it looks kind of cool. So this gentleman, Jonathan Winslow, it was his 57th birthday, and he decided to take some meth. And now he's being charged on 3 criminal counts after he was accused of taking one of the famous vehicles. Police went to the train depot on Staples Avenue just before 11:30 Friday after they got a report that one of the trains was stolen and the GPS was being tracked around downtown. The arrest report states that Winslow left his Kia behind at the depot, still running with the radio playing, got in the train, and then sped away. Police said an employee told officers he had come to the depot, claimed he used to work for the company years ago, asked for a tour of the train, then he got into one of the vehicles and drove off, leaving the employee confused. He did not have permission to do this. Again, he was on meth. Police said Winslow exclaimed when they finally arrested him and they found a pipe on him. He claimed it's a weed pipe. It, however, was not. They found meth in it.
Look, we all celebrate in different ways. That is one way to celebrate a birthday. Not the route I would take, not the path I would choose.
No.
But that's 57 years. That's way past old enough to know better too. Wow.
I'm going to go with this one because the other guy really put real lives at risk, and that kind of makes me angry. This guy probably messed up someone's day in traffic a little bit, but I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, I agree, but that's not beating the nude in the pool. That story has aged exceptionally well. It is funnier today than it was yesterday.
And I agree. That with a little time to marinate, that one's a gem.
It really is. It really is.
That is our winner again, retroactively and actively. Our winner today in What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Mo, our guy, Ryan Mo Winkle and RyanMoWinkle.com. Tim Fitzgerald joins Dan live from Frisco next for the Wildcat Wrap-up on 580 Sports Talk.
We are joined live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, at Big 12 Football Media Days 2025 by the great Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com. This is the Wildcat Wrap-up. Usually it's a Wednesday thing. Today it's a Tuesday thing. Big 12 doesn't care about our schedule on 580 Sports Talk. They did K-State today and KU tomorrow. Usually that's not how we do it on our show, but it's how we're doing it today. So Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joins us. And Fitz, it's only right that not only are you joining us, you're joining us live, you're joining us on our video stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, because on all of your PowerCat podcast videos today, I am lurking in the background, like cut off by the shoulder of your guest, like at the nose. I look at Wilson from Home Improvement. You just get like my eyes and above and just about all your videos. So
sometimes a plan comes together perfectly.
I just hope I don't think I was picking my nose a lot today. I tried to cut down on that, try to be aware. No nose picking, nail biting, anything like that would be incriminating in the background.
I got to learn that lesson. I think I was nose picking on the videos that I recorded.
You know, we all learn. We all learn either the easy way or the hard way.
Well, what a hectic setup! I mean, the players are rotating between you and I, and
yeah, it's a little condensed here relative to. I don't know how it was. I wasn't in Vegas last year, but certainly less space here than there was at AT&T Stadium, where Big 12 Media Days has been the last few years. I have heard around that this seems to be much better organized than it was in Vegas last year. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's what Ryan Lackey told me, that actually they had more space here, which I thought was interesting because there's ballrooms up there for weddings and stuff. And so they set up the networks in there, and all the breakout areas are much more conducive and compact in terms of locations than they were last year. And plus, I mean, just getting around in Vegas sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
You know? I mean, you leave an hour before you need to be there to get on the bus, and then this is nice and compact. We'll walk back to the hotel and might have a drink, probably water, because I'm not that kind of guy.
Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com joining us here for the Wildcat Wrap-up on 580 Sports Talk, live in Frisco, Texas, at the Star for Big 12 Football Media Days. Let's start with the K-State contingent. What was kind of a theme or something you picked up on talking to K-State players today that was really interesting to you?
Quiet confidence. they know how good they can be. They know they got to put in the work and do it. But I think this is a much more confident team than a year ago. And a big part of it's Avery. I mean, heavens. You mentioned you weren't in Las Vegas, but just seeing him here today as opposed to a year ago in Vegas, he's a different young man. He's bigger. He's more cut out. He's got a ridiculous tan. He might have some genetic advantages over me. But, yeah, he's physically becoming more of a man. And you got to remember, he's like 20. I mean, he's still a young guy. And he's going to get bigger. And he looks more like, well, I'm going to say it, an NFL quarterback now.
The defense, something I was talking about with the defensive players, the mission to get bigger, to get stronger, particularly on that side of the ball. Like Cody Stufflebean looks stout. Yep. BJ Payne looks strong. Des Purnell, he's always looked pretty stout. But, yeah, he looks like he's even in better shape. Do you get the sense that emphasis has paid off for the defensive players, and they feel like they're going to be in a position where athletically they're going to match up better with the Big 12 this year?
I think so. And as a reminder, Chris Klieman didn't use all of his spring practices. He opted to extend off-season conditioning by 3 weeks. I mean, he could only squeeze in about 11 practices. And in talking to the guys, it was time well spent. They all feel like that added 3 weeks. I mean, it's 50% more time. It was a 6-week program that became a 9-week program. And they all feel like they gained a lot of physical attributes from it, and that you can tell. I mean, when an old dope like me can tell that BJ Payne is noticeably bigger, this kid is completely different. And as my sidekick Brian Hanley over here indicated, he looks like an NFL safety right now, but he might be faster than your typical NFL safety. It's remarkable. He's got the speed of a corner and the size of an outside linebacker right now. That's crazy.
We're talking to Tim Fitzgerald. He's joining Dan live from the Star down in Frisco, Texas, for the Wildcat Wrap-up here on 580 Sports Talk. Fitz, I'm glad you brought up Avery's tan. I did see a picture. I think your guy Ryan Gilbert posted a picture of you and Avery side by side. You look like two different species. That's not an insult, I promise. I'm pale as well, but it looked like an alien and a human. It was there was a bit of a difference there in terms of the tan level.
I have no further comment. It's usually the hair that sets us apart, but today it was clearly the tan. Ah, man, I got a sunburn just talking about it.
I did want to ask about the continuity for this offense. Obviously, second year for quarterbacks, both at the college level, the high school level, certainly pros. Second year in a system and second year as a starter is often when quarterbacks with the kind of ceiling Avery have, they take off and they really explode. How big is it for him to go into his second year as a starter, but also to have the continuity with Coach Matt Wells? I know Wells has taken on some different roles this year with the other coaching changes, but how big is that going to be for Avery's development, but really for this offense to be able to evolve and develop into a new level?
When you have a quarterback that you have a better understanding of strengths and weaknesses, he does. He knows what he did wrong last year, and he's been working on it. And, quite often it was a bad choice in where to put the ball. Everyone tells me, setting aside the physical attributes, that what he showed in practice in the spring was greatly advanced of what we saw. And I think the bowl game helped the entire team, that they could take away, key parts from the defense that, they won't have next season, and still play at a really high level. And the offense looked absolutely unstoppable at times in that game. And I think that's a good indication of where this offense could end up in this upcoming season, with a lot of weapons and a more confident and stable quarterback.
The game in Ireland, there's a lot of reason to be excited about this game. It's cool. K-State's going to be the big game of the day and the big game in that TV window in particular. And I know Coach Klieman earlier today, he said, look, at first I wasn't a fan of it, but I've come to accept it, come to embrace it, etc. I know we've talked about it a couple of times this offseason, but at the kind of unofficial kickoff to the college football season, what's your official stance? Are you happy that they're playing this week 0 big international game, or aside from the rivalry part of it, would you wish that this was just, back on campus sometime later in the season?
Yeah, I'm totally split on this. I see an incredible value in this game for Kansas State and the Big 12 to be on this national stage. to show, this is typically a really exciting competitive game between these two programs. And if that happens in Dublin, it's going to be a great advertisement for where the Big 12's at. And these two teams could be the teams that meet in Arlington later on. They're both really good. But with all that said, I'm old and I'm grumpy, and the traveling's a pain in the butt. The wear and tear is going to be significant on my old body and mind. And, keep in mind, we fly back on Sunday. We basically fly all day Sunday and have a Monday press conference because it's game week. And that's really, if I'm tired, so what? But how's the team going to bounce back? And also, I feel for all my friends in the Manhattan business community who don't get Farmageddon in Manhattan. Unless they change the 27 schedule, they won't see it again until maybe 29. It's crazy how the Big 12 has done this to this rivalry.
A few more questions for Tim Fitzgerald to go Powercat.com. Joining us for a live edition of the Wildcat Wrap-up here at Big 12 Football Media Days at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco, Texas. Brett Yormark, commissioner of the conference, spoke to kind of lead things off, gave that kickoff speech that he always gives. And the thing I took away from it, whether you agree with his tactics or not, is that he's a fighter. And that's exactly what this conference has needed since the moment he took the job. What do you make of his stance and what he's done to really go to bat, make sure that the Big 12 maintains a seat at the table and a place in the conversation?
I really appreciate his stance on the playoff. Now, let's be clear. The critics of the 5-11 plan might be right that it won't be advantageous to the Big 12. But if you look at this from Brett Yormark's perspective, he doesn't see any value in going in saying, okay, we got 2 auto bids and the SEC and Big 10 have 4 each. Right there, he demeans his conference. He's not going to accept that math. He's not going to put on writing that this is half the conference of the other 2. And I agree with that. Now, will there be a fair shake from the SEC? Not if Greg Sankey has anything to say about it. He's going to cheat the system as best he can. So that's my one concern, and that's what my daily delivery will be about tomorrow before we kick off day 2 of this. That, yeah, I'm all in, but you got to keep an eye on the algorithm. You got to make sure that we aren't rewarding the SEC for losing games. Think about the absurdity of that. You're a better team because you lost to better teams. No, you lost. I think that strength of schedule should be based solely on the teams you defeated. And if you really did play a harder schedule and beat harder teams, you should be rewarded for that. There should be no reward in losing to a good or bad team.
Amen to that. I agree with that 100%. Wanted to also get your perspective on the perspective nationally of the league. Much was made, and I don't necessarily agree with Brett Yormark's decision to do away with the preseason media poll.
Right.
I think that's a little misguided, but I understand where he's coming from. The idea that a lot of times preseason perception sets the table for the rest of the season. People have argued for years, it's never gone anywhere because it's grist for the content mill, but people have argued for years, do away with the preseason top 25.
I would agree.
And start everybody from ground zero as far as the preseason expectations go. But what can the Big 12 do, if anything, to set the table for its perception going into this season?
I think the Big 12 needs to keep hammering on the most competitive and entertaining product in college football. And that's what caused the chaos last year. Now, there are no brands that you just say Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, and the conference. That's not where this conference is at. Now, would they love to have 2 teams of that stature and that tradition? Absolutely, but they don't. They don't. So I think trying to advertise like it's wide open, and we're proud of that. It's not because we're bad. It's because these teams are all good and comparable and fun. That's a hard thing to overcome because the knuckle draggers in the national media often only understand the big blue blood programs. If they don't have that as a comparison, they don't function. And the Big 12 right now, it just simply doesn't have one, and they won't because you don't become a blue blood anymore. I mean, maybe BYU is the most prominent of the national programs along Colorado. But what the conference needs, though, is that to take that competitive nature and to have that trendsetter, the pace setter, I guess is what I'm looking for. Someone that everyone else has to chase. And I've been saying this for a while. The Big 12 conference was better because Oklahoma was really good. Everyone had to chase that. That's the standard you had to keep. And while this conference needs to feed off its competitive nature, someone, maybe it'd be Arizona State. If the polls are right, and we did one at 24/7, and Arizona State was picked as the champion, that's right. Then you've got someone to chase in this conference. But I also think Kansas State or Baylor or Iowa State or even Tech could grow into that.
Brett Yormark, lastly, doesn't care about your opinion on this, but I do. So
Okay.
Who are number 1 and number 2 in your preseason poll?
It's got to be Arizona State, Kansas State. It just does. Because I don't know what to do with Tech. Yeah. I mean, it's impressive what they've done, but is it going to work? We have no –
Building an offensive line through the portal is not the easiest thing in the world to do.
It has not worked for others. And we'll see if they pan out and they're what they should be, they're going to be really good. So add them into the mix. But Baylor's going to be good. Iowa State's going to be good. And, oh, yeah, someone else who we don't even see coming down the tracks right now is going to be up in there too.
I went K-State, Iowa State. I think the first game is going to be the last game.
I have a good feeling about that. I really do. And I think that would be fantastic for the Big 12 because those are two recognizable programs from this conference. Because, half the conference is new in the last 2 years. And the Big 12 fans know it, but I think there's still a lot of adjusting going on across college football, either fandom or media.
Tim Fitzgerald covers the Kansas State Wildcats for GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Go be a VIP subscriber today. He joins us every week for the Wildcat Wrap-up, joining us live today here in Frisco, Texas at Big 12 Media Days. Fitz, always a pleasure. Thanks for spending the time with us here this afternoon.
And I'd like to personally thank Chris Klieman for going on day one. Thank you, Coach.
Amen to that. That is Tim Fitzgerald. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. 580 Sports Talk next.
Final minute and a half of this 4 o'clock hour on 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dorzinski with you from our Huntoon Hill studios. Dan Lucero is down at the Star in Frisco, Texas for Big 12 football media days. Dan's got some more interviews coming up here at the very top of the hour. He'll join us as next hour continues, though. We're going to hear from Des Purnell, the Topeka native, former Hayden Wildcat. I used his government name there. He's going by Des now. So Des Purnell is going to join us coming up in the next hour. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headline. That's going to include the balance of our Royals talk today. By the way, The Royals have won 4 out of 5. They finally start winning, and suddenly we've got a bunch of other stuff going on. We can't even talk Royals baseball on the show. But that's coming up here in just a little bit as well. We'll also get some final thoughts from Dan on day one from Big 12 football media days. But right now, we have another pair of tickets for Whiskey Myers coming up this Saturday at the Starlight Theater in Kansas City, the best music venue I have ever been to. Now, I want you to know, because our phones have been blowing up, we've got 2 more pairs to give away tomorrow, as well as 1 pair right now. So I want caller number 2, 785-272-9429. You're getting a pair of tickets to see Whiskey Myers at the Starlight coming up on Saturday night. We'll announce our winner and get to our headlines, Des Purnell, and a whole lot more after the news on the final hour today of 580 Sports Talk. now, 5 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. Brendan Dworzinski with you live from our 580 studios high up on Huntoon Hill in the capital city. Dan Lucero is down at the Star in Frisco, Texas for day number 1 of 2 at Big 12 Football Media Days. Dan is going to join us a little bit later on this hour. We're going to hear his chat with Des Purnell, the Topeka native, the former Hayden Wildcat, and the starting safety for K-State football. That's coming up in a little bit. Dan's got some other fun interviews he's running down here in this 5 o'clock hour today that we're going to hear a little bit later on in the week. Super, super excited for him. Not going to spoil them, but I am very excited for what Dan's got coming down the pike here in the near future. So just me for a little bit, but again, we'll hear from Dan with Des Purnell coming up in just a bit. In this final hour of the Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk, we've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines here in just a matter of moments, including a lot of Royals talk. What's the opposite of kismet? Like, the Royals finally start playing good ball. They've won 4 out of 5. They're mashing. They did something last night they have not done literally all year, and that's a good thing. Not like, oh, yeah, they had 1 hit and never got past first and didn't score for the 12th time. No, they actually did something good for the first time all year. We're now 2 hours into the show. Haven't even gotten to talk about it because of media days. Royals, you could not have had worse timing for this. But we'll talk some Royals baseball here during headlines, some other notes from around the sports world as well. We'll hear from Des, and we'll get Dan's final thoughts recapping day 1 at media days, and we'll look ahead to tomorrow as well. A couple housekeeping notes. One, I want to give a big shout out to our winners of the Whiskey Myers tickets today. Mark was our 4 o'clock hour winner, and Daniel, our 3 o'clock hour winner. No, not Lucero. Again, I would not have used, as he put it, his government name. I would have just called him Dan. Different Daniel ended up winning the tickets in the 3 o'clock hour. So congrats to them. We will have 2 more pairs of Whiskey Myers tickets to give away tomorrow. End of the 3 o'clock hour, end of the 4 o'clock hour. They're at the Starlight Theater. Can't wait to give those away tomorrow on the show. So if you're one of the many people who's called in, has not won, you're going to have another pair of chances to win those tickets tomorrow here on 580 Sports Talk. And as I said, we're going to end this hour looking back on day 1 from the Star, looking ahead to day 2. It's been K-State Day all day today. Tomorrow, KU Day. That's right. The Jayhawks are going to be going through the media car wash down at the Star tomorrow. It is, and I want to make sure I get the full rotation here, KU, Arizona, Colorado, Houston, Oklahoma State, TCU, Utah, and West Virginia. That is your collective of teams, your 8 teams that are going to be down there in Frisco, Texas for Media Day and the media car wash tomorrow. Dan will have plenty of interviews. We'll hear from Lance Leipold. We will hear from Jalen Daniels. We'll hear from possibly Dean Miller. There are going to be a couple other Jayhawks who are there. And we've got interviews throughout the rest of the week. That's the beautiful thing. Dan's going to be back here in studio on Thursday. That's not it. We don't just drop dead on Big 12 Media Day coverage. No, we're going to have more K-State players, more KU players, some fun college football media personalities, and more joining us throughout the rest of the week and into the start of next week as well. So stay tuned here to 580 Sports Talk for all of that. And of course, if you've missed any of the show today, you missed our interview with Avery Johnson. He was great 1 hour ago. Maybe you missed an in-person edition of the Wildcat Wrap-up with Tim Fitzgerald, our chat from the first hour with Chris Klieman. You can hear all of that on our website, 580wibw.com. You can check it out in podcast form on Spotify. Just look up 580 Sports Talk in the Spotify library, and you'll find it there. Give us a 5-star rating while you're there. Why not? Or you can, of course, find it on YouTube as well. If you're not a subscriber to the YouTube, what the heck are you doing? You're missing out. All sorts of great video stuff. You missed seeing Fitz and Avery on camera today. Awesome stuff from them. You can go and find that stuff on our YouTube channel. Head to youtube.com. Search 580 Sports Talk. That is the best way to go and find all of our video content and the live stream of the show every single day. Think if we haven't had any changes in the last hour and a half or so, we're sitting at 7:59. Appreciate all you guys who have subscribed over the last week or so. Dan and I are going to arm wrestle at 800. We're going to buck up and arm wrestle once we get to 800 in hopefully just a matter of days, maybe a couple of weeks. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go check it out on the YouTube channel. Thanks to everybody who is hanging out with us in the YouTube feed today. Mark and Liam and Vance and Ryan and Coach Gonzo and everybody else who's been in there today. We thank you guys, and thank you for listening as well on 580 AM, 104.9 FM, online at 580WIBW.com as well. All right, without further ado, let's get to today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. Plenty to get to from around the world of sports. Some good stuff to get to from Big 12 Media Days, in fact, as well. We'll rehash some of the big points we talked about at the top of the show. But I wanted to start with a little Kansas City Royals baseball, because the boys in blue, well, those boys are playing some ball. 4 wins in their last 5 games. They picked up a half a game in the wild card standings. Doesn't sound like much, but when you are on the fringes of the playoff race at this point, you'll take every single half game you can get. So the Royals now 44-48 on the year. They are 5 games out behind Seattle for the 3rd and final spot in the American League wild card teams. They beat the Pirates 9-3 last night, and they beat the crap out of them, man. Noah Cameron made one mistake. He made one mistake in the second inning, giving up a 2-run bomb. And other than that, he was magnificent last night. We talked so much in the early portion of his time with the big league club this season after he got called up, talking about how, wow, there's a lot of faith in him and obviously a lot of endurance in that arm too, that you can put him on the mound to start the 7th inning. He did that a lot. He got through 6+ in, his first 6 starts of the season, if not the first 7 of the season. Then, got to manage the innings a little bit. Still a young kid, all of that. Last night, though, new career high. Goes a full 7 innings. Again, made one mistake over the entire course of the night. Just the 3 hits allowed. Only walked 1 batter. Struck out 7. He was excellent. And look, the Pirates are not good. I think that's a pretty obvious thing to say. They're such a Ponzi scheme of a team. It's so insulting to a very proud franchise that Bob Nutting treats them like garbage. But they're now 16 games under 500. They're 17 games out in the National League Central. They stink, and I understand that. They're especially bad on the road. They have, believe it or not, a record that is only 1 game better on the road than the Colorado Rockies this year. The Pirates are 12-33 away from PNC Bank Field, PNC Park. The Rockies are 11-34, 1 game better away from their home stadium for the Pirates. So yeah, they stink on the road, but you play who's in front of you. And Noah Cameron was dominant. And I think with Noah Cameron, and some news we'll get to here in just a moment with the Royals pitching staff, he is part of not just the rotation for the long haul at this point for Kansas City. He's part of the trust tree, man. And this starting rotation that has just been so damn good over the course of the year. Seth Lugo is going tonight. Seth Lugo, not an all-star, despite having an ERA of 2.65. Dude's been great with a winning record again. For those of you who still care about wins and losses for pitchers, he has been magnificent this year. The whole rotation, for the most part, has been great. Last time out for Michael Lorenzen, he was awesome. Michael Wacha, not perfect his last time out, but for the most part, he's been a paragon of consistency for the Royals in the starting rotation for the first 5-6 innings of the game so far this year. So to get Noah Cameron and to see that high upside stuff, even against a feeble offense, hard not to be very, very excited about that. This is an especially intriguing series because there was some reporting yesterday, at least some word from the rumor mill, that the Royals are interested in Brian Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates, who's having a bit of a down year, but has been an above average offensive contributor pretty much his entire career. Was down a little bit in the COVID year 2020, but that was all fake anyway. So maybe the Royals sweep this series and then Reynolds doesn't even leave Kansas City. Long way to go before we can determine exactly what things are going to look like at the trade deadline for the Royals. But that's what makes this whole thing so complicated. I haven't even gotten to the offense from last night, which, by the way, as I teased earlier, did something they had not done all year up to this point. They hit multiple home runs in a home game. They were the last team in Major League Baseball to not have a multi-home run game at home. And they didn't just do 2. Bobby and Salvi and Vinny and Nick Lofton, those 4 home runs, they were going to say, you know what? If we're going to finally do this after not doing it for the first 87 games of the year, might as well do it in style, right? Or I actually shortchanged them, however many games they played at home and total this season. They mashed the ball last night. Nick Lofton hit a home run, man. Come on. Like that's the kind of game it was for the Royals. But it's great to see the offense moving in a positive direction. They hit a bunch of home runs during that first game against Arizona. They scored at a decent clip in general against the Diamondbacks, even with that iffy one this past Saturday when they only scored 1 in a 6-run loss. But then they scored another 9 last night. The offense against these bad pitching staffs is starting to turn. And if you want to give me the thing that was argued against the Royals throughout all of last season, that, all they do is beat up bad teams. Good. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. Good teams beat other good to decent teams all the time. That's how sports work. That's how Major League Baseball works. You want to beat up these bad teams. The Royals have not scored in a lot of their games against crappy pitching staffs this year because the offense has been so anemic. So to be able to do that, to see those guys mash, Bobby Witt Jr. is really coming into his own this season. He heats up. We talked about this at the end of May. My guy Will Harris over on Blue Sky, he had this stat that through the month of May, like 3 years in a row, Witt had 6 or fewer home runs. Well, we all know what he's done the last 2 seasons in terms of the home run totals. He's heating up right now. Really, really, really important to see for Bobby Witt. And good to see Salvi hit a couple in the last 2 games as well. So Royals offense looking good. But as I was saying earlier, and I got sidetracked by the offensive output, which was fun, which was exciting. The Royals are now the most frustrating version of a team at the deadline. They are not out of it yet. 5 games is considerable. I mean, that's a legitimate climb to get to the postseason at this point. And they do have a number of teams they still have to jump in the wild card standings. They're behind the Rangers. They are behind the Angels. And they are behind the Red Sox. They are tied in terms of games back with the Minnesota Twins. The Royals have played 2 more games than the Twins have. 1 more win, 1 more loss so far this season. So they've got right now 4 teams effectively they have to jump, and then another one who's tied with them. They put themselves in such a hole with that long skid where they just weren't hitting at all. They couldn't muster anything with runners in scoring position. They couldn't muster many hits, period. They weren't scoring whatsoever. Well, now you win 4 out of 5. You start to feel, hey, this is a little bit more positive. Okay, we're trending in the right direction. We've moved 1 spot up on percentage points in the standings for the wild card within 5 games. None of the teams in front of the Royals are exactly trustworthy. I mean, the Angels are right now 4 games out. They're 2 games under 500. The Rangers are 4.5 out. They're 3 games under. The Red Sox are 2 over 500, but I don't know, man. Do you trust the Boston Red Sox this year? I sure don't. Do you trust the Seattle Mariners? I wouldn't if you know anything about the history of Seattle Mariners baseball. So the Royals are absolutely in this, but they're on the fringes of it because they dug themselves in such a deep hole. So now, as we get even closer to the trade deadline, 23 days out, the Royals are in this position where it's not likely that they make the playoffs, but if they continue to heat up like this offensively, and we've seen it now for the better part of a week, you add a bat to try to progress even farther along with that offensive development. Your starting pitching pitches like it has all season. The bullpen's been solid enough at worst. Yeah, that looks like a playoff team. So it's extremely annoying because if they were just a few games worse, yeah, they're selling. Lugo's going to be gone. You might trade Estevez. He's probably going to get you quite a haul since he's got that extra year of team control attached to his contract. You're probably thinking about moving some other guys, build for the future, build for 2026. Instead, you've got to, at the bare minimum, wait it out to see if you can make up any more ground. Because if a week from now, the Royals are suddenly 3.5 out, oh, okay, that's even more reasonable. 3 out. Oh, yeah, that's got to be work. I mean, that's not a shoe in, a sure thing, but you can absolutely do that. But you have to wait it out to see if you get to that point, because the same thing could be said the other way. The Royals might slide again, and then, well, if other teams are sliding, you're still around 5 out. Maybe you fall completely out of contention, but then we're closer to the trade deadline, so it's harder to turn things around. It's just an annoying place to be if you're the Royals. I feel like they are not going to sell at this point. If I had to guess, I don't think they are going to end up selling. I know Dan had the opinion the other day, and I agreed with him, that Seth Lugo should be on the block no matter what, because of the fact that he's not going to be on the team next year. And what's more important for a team that's not going to win the World Series this year in the Royals? Are you going to hold Lugo just to say, hey, thanks for the memories, let's enjoy a handful more starts? Or do you go and try to get a couple prospects who can help you in 26 or 27? I don't know. I'm really, honest to God, not sure. I am leaning toward they're going to at least stand pat, though, and say, let's give it a go. You don't want to give up seasons, when Bobby Witt Jr. is playing like an MVP, and he's not quite at that level this year, but he has still been excellent. And the twilight years of at least the productivity of Salvador Perez's career, it's hard to just punt on that, which I get, but it would be nicer if the Royals were a little bit closer and were surefire buyers, versus if they were a little further out, that would also be a little bit more helpful, and you just knew, it's not going to happen. Instead, they split the difference, and well, that's not a very fun place to be. Mark B on YouTube, he asks us, what do the Royals offer for Brian Reynolds? It's a great question. I have no idea what a package would look like for Brian Reynolds, because we know that the Royals don't have an especially deep farm system. Reynolds is having a down year, so that value probably not tanks, but it declines at least a little bit for him. He's got a pretty affordable contract for the long haul, though. I mean, this contract currently is going to take him till his age 34 season. He's locked up for a considerable amount of time. I don't know what you would have to give up. So, Mark, I wish I could give you a better answer. I wish I could give you an encyclopedic knowledge of the entire farm system for the Royals. Maybe there's a major league player you toss in there. I don't know. It's hard to say. That is an interesting one, though. I will say that, no doubt. That is an interesting bat. If you can get him back to a league average contributor, well, shoot, that's better than a lot of what the Royals have gotten. And if you get him back to some of his career averages, that's a much better offensive contributor than what the Royals have gotten from a lot of their offensive position players over the course of the season so far. I told you that we had some other Royals news here on our 580 Sports Talk headlines on this Tuesday, July 8th, day one of Big 12 football media days. The Royals are calling up Cam Devaney, the infielder from AAA Omaha. He has been very good at Omaha this year. 18 home runs, a 931 OPS at AAA. Not highly touted to the same degree that Jack Caglione was when he was called up. But hey, 18 home runs through just over half a season in minor league ball. Pretty good, even though everyone in AAA hits right now. Beggars can't be choosers. Hopefully, this adds a little bit of a spark. If you remember, there was something of a, not quite a dead cat bounce, but there was something of a boost that this Royals offense got when Caglione got the call. Now, he wasn't hitting, and still really isn't, but the Royals were swinging the bats a little bit better right after he came up. Maybe Devaney is able to give them a little bit of a boost, a little bit of an edge as well. To make room for him, Mark Canha, with an elbow injury, he is being put on the 10-day IL. Man, he just cannot stay healthy this year. Cole Reagans is going to the 60-day injured list. And admittedly, when I saw that pop up today, I thought, oh boy, that sucks to lose Cole Reagans for the even longer term. When I was talking about it with Dan, and he gave me the rational and certainly correct viewpoint about this, that look, he already wasn't going to be back within 30 days. They needed a roster spot, and it's going to take him time anyway to get booted up and ready to go to be able to return to action. We don't know when he's going to be able to start a throwing program in the first place. And I mean, if it was tomorrow, okay, well then you got to wait quite a considerable amount of time before he can come back. But he's not going to start even ramping up for another week, 10 days, 2 weeks. Well, I mean, what are you possibly going to do with that? So procedural move more than anything for Cole Reagans, which is good. And the rational part of my brain recognizes that, understands that, and knows, okay, this is a good thing. Admittedly, though, the animalistic part of my brain, I saw that today and thought, oh my God, this is an absolute nightmare. All right, plenty of Royals baseball. We've got more Royals baseball coming up tonight, by the way. Again, Seth Lugo gets the start. Mitch Keller will start for the Pirates, 6:40 first pitch. Pre-game coverage will start right after we are done with 580 Sports Talk here on your home for Royals baseball, 580 WIBW. How about some news from college sports here to wrap up today's 580 Sports Talk headlines? Let's go with the news from Oklahoma first. This was yesterday. We didn't get to this, though. From Pete Thamel of ESPN, The big headline is that Oklahoma athletic director, the longest tenured athletic director in college sports, Joe Castiglione, no relation to Jack Caglione, Joe Castiglione will retire from his full-time role during the upcoming school year, bringing an end to the longest tenured run for a current AD in major college sports. Upon hiring his successor, he will stay on as the athletic director emeritus, so effectively an advisory role. Thamel goes on the Everything app to say that the 67-year-old Castiglione initiated the conversation about his retirement with school officials almost a month ago, and they landed on this plan together. It allows OU to search for his replacement this year and aid a smooth transition. The timing will allow OU to make a hire in the upcoming months and transition with Castiglione still on campus. His tenure has seen 26 national titles, OU's move to the SEC, and the hiring of Bob Stoops to run the football program. That also thus means hiring of Lincoln Riley and the hiring of Brent Venables after that. There's been a national title in football, 5 Final Fours, 2 for the men, 3 for the women, and 8 softball national titles. Joe Castiglione obviously has been a power player in realignment. He's been a power player previously in the Big 12, now in the SEC for a very long time. Well, not so much the SEC, but you know what I mean. So he's retiring. That's fine. I mean, this would be different if it was a year ago when they were transitioning into the SEC. That would probably be even bigger news. I assume he held on to make sure he got that over the line. I think OU eventually is going to be just fine in football in the SEC. I mean, it's Oklahoma. And this is different than Big 12 football where you ruled the roost for all those years. Guys, do you know the history of Oklahoma football? Because it's not like they were only good within the last decade. It's a true blue blood in the sport. It's a great program. I do believe they're going to be fine. But the football element of this is why I have the most intrigue. Because I think Brent Venables is all the way on the hot seat this year down in Norman. That program expects to win conference titles. They expect to win playoff games. They expect to win national titles. And Brent Venables, in 3 seasons as the head coach at Oklahoma, 6-7 with a loss in the Cheez-It Bowl in 2022. They went 3-6 in conference in the Big 12. 2023, hey, they went 10-3, 10-2 regular season. They lost the Alamo Bowl, finished the year 15th ranked. Last year, they're first in the SEC. He won 2 conference games at OU. They went 6-7 overall, tied for 13th in that league, and they lost the Armed Forces Bowl. That means in 3 years as a head coach, Brent Venables is 22-17 overall at Oklahoma with 2 overall losing seasons. They are 2 games underwater in conference play in those 3 years, and he's 0-3 in bowl games. Has only finished the season ranked once in 3 years. Again, this is Oklahoma football, okay? They expect and demand better, and that's why I think he is firmly on the hot seat. In fact, I think this was very conveniently set up for us because CBS Sports today, they put out their rankings. In fact, our guy, Shahan Jayaraja, along with a handful of other writers over at CBS, they put together their hot seat rankings for around the country. They only had one guy who they listed on America's hottest seat. That was Sonny Cumbie at Louisiana Tech. I can't believe he didn't get fired this offseason. The second hottest seat of any coach, higher than Trent Dilfer, higher than Mike Gundy, higher than Brent Brennan or Sam Pittman or Hugh Freeze, higher than Scott Satterfield, all those guys, Brent Venables. So if I'm Venables and I know that Castiglione is leaving, I think you could argue, A, this is bad because the next guy is not going to likely have any sort of ties to Brent Venables, and that would make me feel like my security is completely out the window. On the flip side, he's on the hot seat this year, but if you know there's going to be a transition, does a new AD want to fire the football coach at Oklahoma in his first year? I think that's worth asking. I really, really do. I think that is worth asking. So that is the situation going on at Oklahoma. Joe Castiglione stepping down after the longest tenure of any AD in major American college sports. Also from the college sports world today, some quick notes on realignment. This from Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports. The Mountain West has finalized an agreement with Grand Canyon for the school to join the league as a member this fall, a year earlier than anticipated. They are leaving the WAC. GCU does not play football, so they will be added to Mountain West schedules for the 25-26 season. Grand Canyon technically has an enrollment of over 100,000 students because they have a giant degree mill online program. They face the prospect of having no conference affiliation this year because they left the WAC for the WCC before getting a Mountain West invite for next year. So, yeah, kind of a messy situation there. The move with GCU comes after 5 members departing for the Pac-12 gave formal notice last month of their exit and a few days before the latest mediation session between those two leagues. Grand Canyon, you can say what you want about the business of that college, but they're a good basketball program. They're a whole lot of fun, and they got a great environment down there in Phoenix for that basketball program. One other note on realignment as well. I find this to be actually very funny. Louisiana Tech, we have been talking about them for a few weeks now as the likely, not guaranteed, but likely replacement in the Sun Belt for Texas State, which is now moving to the Pac-12. Well, according to Dave Schultz, and I can tell you that Dave Schultz covers he hosts the Locked On Sun Belt podcast. He is reporting that Louisiana Tech still does not have enough votes to join the Sun Belt. So they're still stuck in Conference USA. Don't burn bridges, folks. They burned a bridge with the Sun Belt years ago. Now no one wants them to return, except UL Monroe, because then it's shorter travel. Do not burn bridges. It never pans out. That does it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. We owe you a break. We got some bills to pay. When we come back, Dan Lucero from down in Frisco, Texas at Big 12 Media Days spoke to K-State safety and Topeka native Des Purnell. We'll hear that conversation right after this on 580 Sports Talk. 5:36 on 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Dan Lucero is going to join us coming up in just a little bit from Big 12 Football Media Days. In fact, down at the Star in Frisco today, our Dan Lucero ran down Desmond Purnell, the Topeka native. Des Purnell. See, I'm so used to his high school days calling him Desmond, calling him his government name. I forget he wants to go by Des now. Des, I apologize for that. Des Purnell, the starting K-State safety. Dan chatted with him earlier today. So let's hear what the starting safety for K-State football had to say earlier today from Big 12 Football Media Days.
Joining us from the Star in Frisco, Texas at Big 12 Media Days, K-State linebacker, former Hayden Wildcat, Des Purnell. It's Des, not Desmond this year. Why the change?
Just keep something how everybody calls me.
Is that your mother calls you that and everything?
Yeah, everybody calls me that.
So you're at the point like my government name is Daniel. I go by Dan. If I hear Daniel, I assume I'm in trouble.
Exactly.
Is that how it is with Desmond? You hear Desmond?
I hear it at the house. I'm like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. So it is Des Purnell joining us from Big 12 Media Days. How was your summer, Des?
Oh, it's been going great. Yeah, the entire team's been training all summer, ready to get after it during fall camp.
Did you get away, get a chance to do anything fun, leisurely for a little bit of window of time?
For the 4th of July break, just enjoyed some time on the lake with my girlfriend's family.
Perfect.
Seeing some of my family.
Very good, very good. So now it's just about ready to get back to work, and you got to get to work pretty quick because you got a big game right away, right? Week 0 in Ireland against Iowa State. You hit the ground running. So how much more important is the offseason preparation, making sure you are on your game and the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted going into that first game relative to other seasons?
Yeah, that first game is going to be the definition of what we did all offseason, I'd say. Everything leading up to that is just for that first game. We're thinking 1-0 each and every single day. So getting a 1-0 start is going to be great for us.
Des Purnell is our guest here from Big 12 Media Days. Last season, there was a big difference between, particularly against the pass, from the first half of the season to the second half of the season. You guys really tightened up and were a much better team defense in that second half of the season. How do you keep that momentum going forward? Does that get easier maybe with as many returning guys as you have this year?
Yeah, slightly, but just keep on telling everybody that, you're only as good as your last play. Keep on getting better each and every single day, challenging guys. That's what's going to really help us out in the long term.
Is there much that's different? I know there was a change towards last year, doing a little bit more 4-down lineman looks on passing downs, third downs, get an extra pass rusher out there. Is there much that's fundamentally different with Coach Klanderman this year, or is it a pretty similar setup and something that you and your teammates are pretty comfortable with?
Pretty similar setup. Haven't really talked to Coach Klieman much, but I know that for now we're staying on our base down stuff on base downs, and then maybe get extra pass rusher out there on the third down stuff, get everybody riled up.
Des Purnell joining us here from Big 12 Media Days. As your career has now moved to this portion of it, how have you evolved as not just as a player but as a teammate? How do you feel like you've changed as a teammate, as a leader? How you've grown in those capacities as you become a veteran on this team?
Being more patient, understanding that it's other guys around me, not just myself, taking a step back, taking a deep breath, trying to get to know everybody on the team best as I can, and just help each other out.
When I talked to your head coach, Chris Klieman, a little bit earlier, he credited you with being somebody who's been a really valuable leader and an important leader in the growth of a player like Austin Romaine, who's obviously a first-team preseason all Big 12 player. How do you feel like you've been able to lead by example or lead with your verbal example as you've gone through your career?
Yeah, good enough for Austin Romaine, man. He always comes up to me, asking me questions all the time, what I think about things. So I appreciate that, and also vice versa. I always ask him what I'd be thinking also. And just having him behind me and having me just help him, mature more into a team leader, which he is becoming. It's phenomenal. I think just for Romaine and what he's been doing.
Speaking of Austin, what in your mind has made him such a successful player and given him the ability to kind of take over and be that rock in the middle of your defense?
He just never takes anything for granted. He attacks each and every single play, each and every single rep of anything that we do.
We're talking to Des Purnell, senior linebacker from the Kansas State Wildcats here at Big 12 Media Days. On the back end, you've got some young corners who got some really valuable experience towards the end of last season and in the bowl game. And the thing that stands out about them, they're big and they're really physical. Do you feel like on the back end this year, you've got a little bit more size, a little bit more physicality?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's one thing that we hammered on during the offseason, get everybody bigger. But also with that, everybody's also gotten very fast. So matching that build up in weight also with their speed is phenomenal. They're going to be terrific this year.
Going back to that point, because I know that was a big part of the offseason emphasis that you guys had. Get bigger, get stronger, get faster. What did that entail? What did that require of you and your teammates to make sure that you were in the right physical shape, in the right place that you needed to be, again, for an important week 0 game? What went into that kind of off-season training that was maybe different from last year's or more intense than previous years?
It required me to harp on guys a little bit more. Get everybody going. Don't come in the facility stagnant or anything. Get everybody going. Get everybody's blood pressure rising. Understand that everybody knows that we're on a timely schedule. We got to keep it going really fast. So just getting that point across, we can't take anything lightly.
Our guest is Kansas State senior linebacker Des Purnell here at Big 12 Media Days. Who do you look at in the front seven and say, all right, you guys maybe don't know, you're not talking about him at this point in the year in talking season, but in November, you're going to be talking a lot about this guy. Who do you see as somebody who's made a big leap physically in terms of their understanding of their responsibilities and has a chance to really be, you can give me as many names as you want here, but who are those guys that you think, oh, this is somebody who's going to be a real problem this year?
I think that Ryan Davis and then Travis Bates, those two guys are definitely going to have a plus year this year. I can't wait to see them ball out.
You certainly need that increased presence in the pass rush. You graduate Brendan Mott, defensive lineman of the year last year in the Big 12, but you've got a bunch of guys that you mentioned Bates, you mentioned Davis, Tobias and Sami's got some tremendous pass rush potential. We know that. It's going to be kind of a team effort when it comes to getting after the quarterback this year.
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's our number one goal, always, hurry up the quarterback best as we can. And having those guys up there, having Chidi, Toby, Damian, Uso, having everybody stuff, just attacking the quarterback is going to be phenomenal. Help us out in the pass game.
They say iron sharpens iron. You get to go up against an offense that's as talented as any in the Big 12 in practice. I want to start under center with Avery Johnson. What do you notice about him that's different physically, mentally, just in terms of how he carries himself as a junior and upperclassman now? What's improving? What's growing about Avery Johnson?
Confidence. Each and every single day, each and every single snap I see him take, he just gets more and more confident. He starts playing games on us on the defense. We can start to have to get back at him too. But yeah, it's just he's just really falling in it so smoothly. It's just perfect.
You look at the skill players as a whole on that offensive side of the ball. You've got to go up against Dylan Edwards every day, Jace Brown every day, a tight end room that might be the best in the country every single day. When you watch those guys, how much confidence does that give your defense, knowing that, hey, those guys have a chance to put up some big numbers for us, and we're going to have some opportunities to, pin the ears back, get after the quarterback with some leads in the second half of game.
Yeah, telling the defense each and every single day, like, this is the best offense we're going against, and they're going to give us their best. We're going to give them our best too. And we're going to make each other better, have an ultimate goal win on Saturdays.
Our guest is Des Purnell, senior linebacker for the Kansas State Wildcats. I know it's a business trip, but you get to go to Ireland here in a little under 2 months and open your season. How exciting is this opportunity to go and play overseas, different country, completely different experience than you've had in your college career? How excited are you for that? How excited are your teammates for that opportunity?
Oh, we're very excited. We're totally honored to have the opportunity to go over there in Ireland and enjoy our time there and play a phenomenal game and come out with a win.
What's the itinerary, or do you have any idea? You're going to get out there like a week early, a few days early? Do you kind of already know what the plan is out there? Or I know you're not just showing up on game day. It's not one of those you hop on a bus, hop on a plane, and go play.
Yeah, too bad we're going to have a little bit of jet lag on there, just a little bit. But I think we're going to get there a few days before, like 4 days. I think I haven't really looked at the itinerary. I haven't looked that far ahead. But just get us there, get us acclimated, have a couple workouts there, get our breath going, and have a phenomenal game.
Of the following Irish things, which is your favorite? Irish Spring soap, the Irish setter breed of dog, Lucky Charms, or leprechauns?
Got to go with leprechauns.
All right, leprechauns. They bring good luck, right?
Yeah, of course.
Not a Lucky Charms guy?
Or I am.
Number two with the bullet?
Yeah.
Fair enough. A couple more questions for Des Purnell, the senior linebacker for the Kansas State Wildcats. And we'll take it back home a little bit. You're the hometown guy from Hayden. I got to ask you this. Who was your biggest rival in high school as far as opposing team? What was the game that you always got up for in the Centennial League?
Me personally, my family, my two brothers went to Washburn to rule, so I gotta say Washburn.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought it was Washburn. Right? There's a little bit of nastiness to that rivalry, isn't there?
There always is, man. They got them beat Hayden shirts on. It doesn't matter. We go out there and get the win.
Give me a Bill Arnold story. I love Bill Arnold. I've known Bill Arnold since I started working at Topeka in 2016. Bumped into him at the Kansas City airport about a month ago. Totally random. It's such a small world. Anyway, give me a good Bill Arnold story from your time playing for him.
Probably whenever we were freshmen, he was telling us about the offense, and he was playing like he was the quarterback, and he was getting underneath center, and he obviously this new center never played center before, so he gets underneath center, pokes him up, and then he just and then the guy's just like, whoo. But yeah, that's probably something that just makes me laugh always thinking about it.
Oh yeah, Bill's one of the absolute best. Yeah. Remember watching you as a freshman, you got the chance to carry the ball a little bit, play some offense. Do you ever miss that, or are you pretty happy with the path your football life took you down on the defensive side?
I missed it a little bit, but I'm happy with the path I took. I feel like I have to earn it now more.
Yeah, for sure,
Exactly.
for sure. Well, it's been awesome watching you follow that path now to your senior season as a linebacker at Kansas State. Des Purnell joining us from Big 12 Football Media Days in Frisco, Texas. Des, wish you continued success and an outstanding 2025. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
That's Des Purnell, starting safety for K-State football, joining Dan down at Big 12 Football Media Days today. Awesome stuff from the Topeka native, former Hayden Wildcat. We owe you a commercial break. We'll be right back. Get Dan's biggest takeaway from today, biggest thing he's looking forward to tomorrow at Media Days, coming up on 580 Sports Talk.
Which business owner would you rather be?
Oh, please, oh, no. Don't be the fire marshal. I'm not the fire marshal. Why me? Why me? I'm doomed.
Or this business owner?
Hey, it's a fire marshal. Come on in.
Oh, this won't take long. I see Keller has been here.
Keller Fire and Safety has businesses covered in Kansas, Missouri, and throughout the Midwest for fire protection and safety. One less thing to worry about. Call Keller Fire and Safety.
Keller Fire and Safety.
KellerFire.com.
Families are making plans for summer road trips, and with rising costs, they're looking for ways to save. Joe Saul-Sehy, personal finance expert and host of the Stacking Benjamins podcast, says planning ahead can help.
Setting a realistic budget for things like food, gas, lodging, of course, that's going to make an impact and help you save money. But also focusing on those little things, looking at reward programs and offers and incentive can help a family defray the cost of the trip a lot while also making sure that you keep all the fun.
Families can protect their investment in their vehicle with programs like GM Rewards MasterCard from Barclays and the GM Rewards Loyalty Program. Card members can earn points towards exclusive experiences, a new car, routine service, or digital features like OnStar.
If you're already spending money on things like groceries or travel, why not sign up for the reward program for those things to get points? It's a great way to build future savings toward future adventures.
To learn more about GM Rewards and the GM Rewards MasterCard, visit experience.gm.com.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
This is a special notice to U.S. taxpayers owing $10,000 or more to the IRS. Tax Relief Advocates is urgently notifying taxpayers that tax relief initiatives are now available that may significantly reduce or eliminate what you owe. If you're afraid of an IRS lien, levy, or wage garnishment, don't lose hope. You can now take advantage of these current relief programs to end all collections, reduce the amount you owe, and resolve your tax problem. Even if you have years of unfiled tax returns or are already in a payment plan, you may still qualify for significant relief. Struggling taxpayers can now get relief they need during these hard economic times. A hotline has been established by Tax Relief Advocates for you to call and see what you qualify for. They are A+ rated with the BBB and have over 1,000 5-star reviews. Don't wait. Call 800-575-7147. 800-575-7147. That's 800-575-7147 or simply visit TRA.com.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
WIBW, Topeka.
Final few minutes of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. One quick thing we didn't get to in headlines because this news just broke in the last couple of minutes, but I wanted to share it. Washburn Volleyball has added a new assistant coach under the soon-to-be Hall of Famer Chris Herron. Cam Turner, the Seaman High School product, two-time All-American at KU, a pro right now for the Grand Rapids Rise in the Pro Volleyball Federation, and she's going to coach for her hometown college. Cam's awesome, hell of a player, awesome person as well. So fired up for Washburn Volleyball and for Cameron. That is really, really cool. All right, Dan, you are down in Frisco. You're there today. You will be there tomorrow as well. what was your number one big headline takeaway from day one at the Star?
I would say how excited, optimistic people are for this season of Big 12 football. I mean, that's what this is for, right? This is here expressly to promote the Big 12, to get people excited about football and in particular Big 12 football. But I really think there's a lot to be excited about going into this season. I'm going to bring you later on this week a special guest. I won't spoil a little bit of a surprise, but I just had a chance to speak with somebody who covers the league and says that a great game so often depends on the quarterback play you get in a game. And the level of quarterback play in this league is really high. And that means week in, week out, you're going to get some really good football in the Big 12. So I think that will, if anything, will help the perception of the Big 12 nationally. I think it will be that the game's going to be really good week in and week out because the quarterback play in this league is going to be really good week in and week out.
Got about 30 seconds here before we get to our final break. Tomorrow, whether it's KU related or not, what's the number one thing you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to talking to Jalen Daniels tomorrow because I just think his journey is really fascinating. The things he's been through, the ups, certainly the downs, and now culminating one more year, one more chance to write a legacy in Lawrence, to do it back at the booth after last year being at Arrowhead for playing their games. Just really fascinating to hear from JD6 and how he looks at the opportunity in front of them this season.
It was K-State Day today, KU Day tomorrow. Can't wait for that. Dan's going to have all the coverage from Frisco. We have to get to one final commercial break. We'll come on back and wrap up a fun day of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Let's wrap it up on 580 Sports Talk today. What a fun day it has been. If you missed any of our interviews, Dan's interviews from Big 12 Football Media Days, you can find them on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube or on the podcast from our website or on Spotify. Final word time, Dan Lucero.
Loved Tim Fitzgerald's description of K-State's quiet confidence today here at Big 12 Football Media Day, that this is a team that knows how good it can be, that it's experienced, that it's deep, that it's stronger, bigger, faster than it was last year, and that there is room to grow for Avery Johnson. And if he hits his immense potential this year, there is no reason that Kansas State should be in Arlington to play for a Big 12 championship in December. There is a whole lot to be excited about for this K-State football team, and they know it and they believe it.
My final word today is that while I don't always agree with every single thing that Brett Yormark says or does, I do have a lot of respect for the fact that he never loses sight of the thing that is the most important. He never loses the sight of what he should be doing as Big 12 commissioner. Commissioners past, they were willing to sit back and sit on their hands and let other people effectively make decisions for them. Yormark tries to stay on the cutting edge. And while I don't like all of his ideas, and I think maybe he gets too far out over his skis sometimes, he always is trying to put the Big 12 first. And in an era of college sports, when nobody else is doing that, I appreciate the commissioner of the conference doing everything he can to keep the Big 12 at the forefront of the sports consciousness. We are back tomorrow from 3 until 6. We're going to have a ton of interviews for you. Lance Leipold, Jalen Daniels, more KU players, Michael Swain, all that and more. We'll talk some Royals baseball, obviously more from Media Days, all tomorrow from 3 until 6. So for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. We'll talk to you then here on 580 Sports Talk. Royals baseball is up next.